Man, where's Michael Jai White at? We're supposed to have an interview today. Oh, Michael Jai White!
You're
here.
Yeah, I rolled in.
You rolled in,
Oh,
literally, literally. And you're injured right now.
Yes, I am. It happens.
Right. From what I understand, you got jumped by a bunch of Tupac fans.
No. It was ninjas. It was ninjas.
Okay.
Yeah. Ninjas, and you mentioned that the baby carriage was rolling toward the street while I was fighting the ninjas, and then I, kind of stopped everything.
You saved the baby though, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well there you go. So the injury was worth it.
Yeah. It happens.
It happens.
I got to do what I do.
What really happened?
Ninjas, man.
Ninjas.
It's either that or I was dancing with my daughter for her sweet 16th birthday party, and somebody hit me from the back. I was told every time somebody has ruptured an Achilles, that it feels like somebody hit you in the back of the calf with a golf club. And when that happened, I knew it was time to sit my ass down. Turns out it wasn't a full rupture. It was a partial tear. So, it's time to sit my ass down for a few weeks before I can, kind of start rehabbing. But if you think that I'm not going to make this work for me some kind of way and be better because of it, you out your mind. There's a blessing here somewhere, So, you know what? I've been writing. I've been doing a lot of things, a lot of sit your ass down type of things that is making this worth it.
Yeah, that 16 wasn't that sweet for you.
Yeah, not for me.
Not for you.
Still for her, because when it happened, I knew it happened, and I politely sat my ass down. Didn't want to take up too much attention, but I just whispered to a few folks, and it's like, I'm going to be sitting here and, just let everything go, and I'm just going to be observing from this distance. And then right after that, I took my ass straight to emergency.
Like, how painful was it when it happened?
Oh, man, it was pretty painful. It was burning. It was like somebody was like lighting a torch under my calf. So I thought it was a full rupture because of all the descriptions everybody told me before. But it turns out I got the MRI. Wasn't a full rupture. Just, I got to let it heal, sit my ass down, and I'll be good.
I mean, yeah, we're getting older, man. And for example, I talked about how I had to tear my meniscus. Which kind of threw off my workout. But it's like, once you get older, things don't quite heal the same way. And something that you think, you've been doing all these years that isn't a big deal, suddenly turns into a big deal. Because I watched the video, you weren't doing the most.
No.
You weren't doing backflips.
But that's the way it's been for everybody I know who's torn. They had complete ruptures. That they were doing something innocuous, and then all of a sudden, bam. Like even Kobe Bryant, when he did his, it was just a simple move. It wasn't some kind of like highlight flying, some kind of highlight reel type stuff. And, so many people just walking their dog and it happens. And so, hey, this is the first time I ever had a cast in my life, knock wood. I've been relatively uninjured for a very long time. So, hey, this is my turn.
Okay, well, let's get into what's happening these days in the world. Floyd Mayweather had a rematch with John Gotti III. You watched it?
I believe I did.
Yeah. Floyd actually fired the ref mid-fight.
I heard this.
Leave it to Floyd to do something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I barely paid attention. I think somebody sent it to me. I forget how I did it, but I mean, I never thought it was going to be a competition. So, I mean, I barely made a lot of focus on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact he had a fight with him before, and I think it turned into some sort of weird brawl. Gotti ended up trying to fight people at the end and so forth. So I guess he had a rematch. I don't know if I'm really feeling this direction that Floyd is going into these days. It's like, why fight guys like this?
Money, maybe? I don't know.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I think about Floyd as far as his. I think he could beat a lot of champions right now.
I think so too.
Yeah. So if that floats his boat, there it goes. I mean, It was nothing, like I said, nothing I paid much attention to. If Floyd were beaten, I would think it was a setup, personally. So I mean, that's still the most advanced boxer. He's so many leagues ahead of everybody out there that I don't know. I mean, I just think he's just doing what pleases them.
Well, there's actually a picture of you at the screening of his documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually seen it yet. Is it good?
Oh, well, his documentary. Did I see it?
Well, you said look out. You actually posted a picture. Said look out for the Floyd Mayweather documentary, The GOAT, coming soon, directed by the great Deon Taylor.
Oh yes, yeah, I did see that.
I'm getting old, man.
Yes, I am. Yeah,
this is last month.
Achilles now.
July 11th.
You
posted this.
Yeah, I know I was there, but I'm kind of like, wait a minute, was it the advertisement of the documentary or was the documentary finished? I don't remember.
Wow.
I actually don't remember.
Okay.
Because I feel like I know everything about the brother anyway.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Floyd, listen, I think me and you have had this conversation before where you're like, listen, I wouldn't want to be, I wouldn't want to have the career of any of these boxers because I see how their life is later on in life. And I said, what about Floyd Mayweather? And you're like,
yeah, exactly. Except Floyd,
never mind.
He's making moves nobody's going to ever know about.
Yeah.
He's doing so many things, and so he's playing chess, man. And I don't know I can't think of any other boxer who's done and is still doing the things that he's doing.
Yeah.
Like I say, I mean, I'm privy to things that nobody's ever going to know about that he's moving, So there's a thing that he presents something on the surface that everybody's focused on, but that's just a subterfuge for doing what you really want to do and being effective, So I am, it's weird. I'm about to say my hat's off to him because everybody that says that has a hat off. They don't have to take the damn hat off. But kudos to him because I know about what he's up to.
Well, I just interviewed Victor Ortiz. Mm-hmm. Remember that fight?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
Protect yourself at all times.
True. Yeah.
So that was a very interesting fight because, Victor admitted that he headbutted him.
Right. He just recently admitted that someone told him to do that.
Yeah. Well, his corner told him to headbutt.
Yeah.
I had told my corner over and over again, me está lastimando, he's hurting my eye. It's closed. It was already shut, so I was seeing double out of one eye. It was weird. It was really weird. And then it went black, just black. So I thought I lost my vision. So now I'm a little frustrated, but more than anything, I'm a little scared. I thought I went blind. As I'm sitting there, tell the referee, I've been telling him since the first round. And then right before seconds out, mouthpiece in, I put my mouthpiece in. Hey, tell him again and again, this and that. He goes, the last thing I heard was, headbutt him. If we're supposed to give him a headbutt, take a point. It is what it is.
So your corner told you to headbutt.
Yeah, and I said, headbutt? What? So then that was the last thing I heard. Headbutt, cool. Mouthpiece in. And then I have him against the ropes, and this isn't working for him because I don't work like the right-hander. I'm shooting from over here, that side. So he can't get away from me. And he does it again. And in that moment of time, I just headbutt. I don't know how to headbutt. Looked like a ram. So anyways, I felt completely disgusted within myself, which is a rookie mistake.
So he headbutted him, and he tried to get all extra huggy with him afterwards.
As you might.
And then they went back, they went into the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
And then basically I think he was trying to still be cool with him, and then boom.
Mm-hmm.
Floyd hit him with a two-piece, knocked him out.
Yeah.
Now Victor Ortiz said that the ref never said box before Mayweather actually threw the punches, but according to the rules, protect yourself at all times.
It's true.
They put you in the center of the ring, and then you hug him again. And you had your hands down.
The ref never said box. The ref says box, let's box.
So you thought that you guys weren't actually boxing yet?
Oh, he didn't say box. You didn't have to say time in or box. None of that took place.
Okay. And a lot of people were upset. Remember there was the whole thing with Larry Merchant, was like, kept trying to, say that it was a dirty punch.
Nah.
And Floyd was like, you don't know shit about boxing. HBO should fire you.
Right.
And then Larry Merchant was like, if I was 30 years younger, I'd kick your ass.
Yeah, I remember that.
it was a circus. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that what Floyd did was dirty, or it was like, hey, when you get in the
ring? Okay, this is my opinion. Okay? Victor Ortiz is a professional fighter.
Correct.
That first blow, he had time to defend himself from the big blow. He absolutely did. Okay? I feel like, psychologically, he accepted that. I really feel that way. Because there was time for him to, instead of leaving himself open, there was one punch that was not lethal. It's like, hello, oh, you're going to stay there? Bam. Okay? And I think that it looked bad, but when you weigh the fact that this man intentionally tried to headbutt him, even admitted that he was told to do so.
Yeah.
So it's not caught up in the moment. Like Tyson might get caught up in the moment. We all see it. But this is absolutely intentional that you could hurt this man.
Yeah.
That is so that's a bitch move on the third power. If you're intentionally trying to foul someone, that's a whole nother level. So Floyd is not really, of course, I try not to be biased, but when I weigh the two, so yeah, we touch gloves and you still got your hands down, you deserve it.
You're right.
Especially there was two punches.
Gloves. Yep.
It was two punches. So by right, you deserve that shit. A lot of people are in a hatred of Floyd in the first place, right? And if there's anything that we should learn by, I think, society nowadays, is that whatever you already feel, you're going to find the material to support that feeling. So there's not a lot of people who are loving Floyd because they want to see somebody, slug it out. They want to see him try to kill everybody at every detriment to himself. I understand that. He's not doing it for you. He's doing it for people like me who love technique and really put quality to the chess game of it. So if you can't, okay, you want him to be in a brawl, make him do it. If you can't do that, shut the hell up. Because everybody has a choice to try to be very aggressive with him. People, Pacquiao, yeah. How Pacquiao fought other people? Go ahead, fight Floyd that way. And then you're going to blame Floyd for it not being a slug out. It takes two people to do that, right? So the fact is, Pacquiao knew good and damn well, you go wild on him, you're going to be laid out, just like Marquez, So anyway, and Floyd knows people are going to be in the I hate Floyd thing because he's not giving you Hagler. People going to love Hagler, but are they going to love him when he's brain dead? They're going to make fun of him when he's brain dead. You heard me talk about this stuff. My heart goes out to fighters who put their life on the line. But people forget about fighters. That shit pisses me off. They forget about them and they just throw them out like they were old racehorses or some shit. And that shit fucks with me.
Yeah.
That really bothers me. That's why, you're always seeing me put ex-fighters, especially the UFC guys or whatever, in the movies or try my best to give them another career afterwards because it's just, I respect what they do. And, that's why I don't call myself a fighter because they putting bread on the table based on their blood and sweat and tears, So that's how I'm feeling about that. But Floyd, people want to hate. They're going to hate because he ain't the fighter that they want him to be. He used to be that, if you pay attention, but he's like, the math ain't mathing. I can get by with my brain cells. Maybe people are not going to like that because they'd rather me be a pit bull, but that's what it is. Just like for me, everybody wants to see me fight somebody. Why don't you fight? That's personal. I do it on my own. And I fight the best people to test myself. But, you know, I don't go, you know, putting stuff out there to try to make me feel, me look better, because it's a personal thing. You know, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I remember Conor McGregor, after he lost to Mayweather, he said that Mayweather had a calmness in the ring that he's never seen before.
Every time, I keep telling you, look at when it's chaos in the ring, Mayweather's sitting there chilling all the time.
Yep.
And even when he's doing all of this, before the fight, he is the most mellow cat. I mean, Conor McGregor smacking him and doing all kinds of stuff that just like, you know, habitual line stepping, you know what I mean?
I remember there were some highlights from that fight.
Yeah.
Where Conor is just sort of like, someone said, we don't know how to play the video game. You start pressing every button.
Right,
he's just
right.
like he's like punching him on top and to the side. And it's just like, he's just doing whatever. Like he doesn't really know what he's doing. Because, you know, he's not a boxer.
Right. Every time you expect Floyd to flip out, he does not.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, you know, that's somebody who's in control. You know, so that, you know, hate, if you're going to, haters going to hate, you know, but I respect what the man's done and what he's accomplished. I try to tell Floyd, man, you don't got to explain it because sometimes I feel like he still explains himself for folks when he does not have to. But I think it's like he wants people to, you know, to feel for him and get his just due. As bad as he is, he doesn't get his credit.
I agree.
Because of that, you know, you didn't fight the way we wanted you to fight.
Right. You didn't lose an eyeball in the ring. You know, boo. You know,
everybody.
We don't respect you because of that.
Yeah, because he's a runner. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You ain't paying attention. You know.
Speaking of headbutts, and this is something that's always been contested, like the Tyson Holyfield fights. Well, the ear biting one.
Right.
Tyson felt he was headbutted. When I spoke to Holyfield about it, he said, no, we just went in at the same time.
He knows he intentionally headbutted me because I was intentionally headbutting him.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? He could have said, yeah, I was headbutting Mike because Mike was headbutting me, but he never said that. He said he was just blocking his head.
What's your take on that?
Why? Anything that you ever see in that match, you see him headbutt me on purpose. He take his head, bam, like this. Now, here's a guy that headbutt me on purpose. And but ain't nobody seen me headbutt him. I said, only thing in boxing when both people step in together, they head may clash.
Do you feel that
I talked about this
was
before.
intentionally headbutting? So,
I think Holyfield's slick.
Okay, but he's never going to admit to it, I guess.
Yeah. You know, I think Holyfield's slick with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's his style too. It's his style. It's a byproduct of his style. You know? So yeah, but I think he knows about it.
I mean, have you ever been headbutted or headbutted somebody?
No. I mean, of course I've been headbutted. You know, not intentional. There's a way that people can fight that they move like that. The head comes first. There's people who fight that way. And if the head happens to be in the way, there you go. You know, that head's going towards your chin, you know, coming down and going up. You know, it's like, how's somebody gonna prove you're not doing that on purpose? You know, you can say, I wasn't doing that on purpose, this is the way I fight.
Well, speaking of Tyson, the Jake Paul versus Tyson fight has been pushed back to November 15th, AT&T Stadium. They're actually using 14-ounce gloves instead of 10-ounce gloves.
Oh, okay.
So I guess this is not a real boxing match.
I don't know if I would say that.
It's not a professional boxing match if you're using 14-ounce gloves, right?
Yeah, you got some pillows on, but yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that it's not going to be rough or whatever else, but a professional boxing match, every world champion, everyone with a belt, fights with 10-ounce gloves. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, so when you put on 14-ounce gloves, it's an exhibition match. Because I remember at one point they were talking about how this is going to be an official fight. It's going to be on everyone's record. But I don't think you could do that if you're using bigger gloves.
Yeah, that seems like it was a sparring match more so.
Exactly.
To me, but
Like wearing headgear. You can't wear headgear and have it be an official.
Yeah.
You can't win a belt wearing headgear.
Yeah, well, you can get knocked out depending on how somebody's force. There's a possibility.
No, I'm not saying no one can get knocked out.
Yeah.
But a 14-ounce glove and a 10-ounce glove, that's a big difference. That's like 50% more padded, essentially. 40% more padded.
Your math is not mathing, but
40% more padded.
Yeah. So that's
40% more padding. That is a lot of padding.
Yeah, especially when you think about body shots.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, a 10-ounce glove with a body shot the way that I think Tyson can deliver one could be a big difference.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you saw the matchup, and like Tyson kind of shoved Jake Paul, and it did not look like a very effective shove. It kind of, I don't know. And I remember like Jake Paul even did a video of them like mocking. He was like, like, it was like he was like kind of mocking the
judge
shove.
A shove. I mean, they gonna be shoving in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I ever thought that, that Tyson's definitely going to take it, I don't think that right now. I think that Jake Paul...
It cuts both ways. And then Jake Paul, he's punching back with a pillow, right? So...
I understand that.
Punching back with a guy who's used to bigger guys hitting him. Granted, that's a long time ago. We don't know. That's why I give credit to Jake Paul. He's making a match that people are going back and forth like you and I are.
Yeah.
Of course, we would not go back and forth if this was like just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We would be like, come on. It's like watching a traffic accident. But now it's interesting because you got age and all these other things. And I go, hey, man, I applaud that. You created an interesting matchup. So, yeah, we're all going to watch it.
There's some articles that have come out recently that basically, based on a lot of research and so forth, they figured out that aging isn't gradual the way we always thought. The human aging actually accelerates dramatically at age 44 and at 60.
Okay.
And then, when I look back at my life, in my 40s, I kind of felt a bit older. You know what I'm saying? So Mike Tyson, I think, is going to be damn near 60 when this fight starts off. I don't know. He just doesn't quite look the same Tyson, even from a few years ago. I don't think Tyson's going to take it. I think Jake Paul's going to win.
Okay.
I'm going to put up some money. Whoever's watching this right now, DM me.
Okay.
Yeah. I got some money on Jake Paul.
Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, like it's fascinating nowadays that the armchair quarterbacks and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And stuff about it's like one of the things I said earlier is however, if you think you support the things that support your thought process, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're thinking that now you're looking for, you happen to notice this study on people aging after 60, and because you're already thinking that way, right? But if you look, there'll be people who defy that. So I feel like everybody's an individual. We don't know. I would like to bet against you.
You want to bet against me?
Yeah, I'll bet against you.
Okay, how much you got?
Whatever you want to make it for.
$100.
Okay,
gentleman's bet.
You know what I like to play for usually is what I do is like I bet for things.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the things we're gonna bet on?
Okay, like the loser has to sing karaoke of the winner's choice.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah, and
you got it.
And I can't even. You won't even have to explain it to the audience.
Yeah.
What song it is? You just got to get up there and sing it.
Right. When you get up on stage and sing Barbie World, everyone will know that you lost the bet.
And when you sing Stand By Your Man, and I ain't nowhere around there, I'm standing in the back, you're just going to have to just sing it.
Well, speaking of the Tyson fight, the other day I announced that me and Ken Shamrock are actually going to be the opening match.
Really?
For the Tyson fight. Yes, me and Ken Shamrock.
I won't have to pay you nothing.
The
then.
world's most dangerous man and the world's most dangerous interviewer are going to be squaring up in the ring and boxing.
You unbox Ken Shamrock?
No, I'm not going to box Ken Shamrock. We just did an interview. But, but we had a little photo at the end where we're squaring up against each other. No, Ken Shamrock would murder me. When I put the post up, there's a bunch of R.I.P. Vlads that were all over the comments and everything else like that. But I got to interview Ken Shamrock again, an absolute legend in this game, not only on the UFC side, but also on the wrestling side.
Yeah, man. And, it's a trip because people like to shortchange wrestling. Man, that's murder.
Oh yeah, we even talked about how most of the guys that I've interviewed that have done both have always said they've injured themselves worse wrestling
because you're not protecting
boxing
yourself
or MMA fighting. Most people that I've interviewed who have done both have injured themselves more on the wrestling side than the fighting side.
That you know why? You know why people get more injured in wrestling than they do in MMA? Is because usually, like for me, I was good in MMA. I was really good, and I kept people from doing damage to me. I didn't let them do that. In wrestling, watch the chair shot. I let that happen. We let people beat us up.
Yeah.
That's the difference, and that's why we get beat up, is because we're stuntmen. We're literally taking falls, and we're taking these bumps, and we're taking all these things because we're trying to do an event, an entertainment event to please the fans. And so we take risky bumps. We take risky shots, and sometimes causes us bodily injury.
Oh, yeah. That wrestling, I got good friends that, one of my best friends, Ernest Miller. Man, when he would describe the wrestling stuff, the schedules and what they have to do, that every time you're landing, it's not like sometimes you got some easy fight or whatever. No, it's always some kind of crazy jumping off the rope, landing and all that type of stuff, getting hit with all kinds of crazy stuff, and then do it the next damn day.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know if you remember this. We talked about this again in the interview. Ken Shamrock got hit in the face with a folding metal chair by The Rock. That was like one of the things that was like a big thing in the era.
Right.
That they agreed ahead of time that Dwayne The Rock Johnson grabbed a folding metal chair and hit Ken Shamrock in the face.
Right.
And, what he said was, since he could prepare for it, he kind of put his head down and kind of hit his forehead a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But it made a huge bang. And everyone was like, oh!
Yeah.
They're even talking about how, The Rock was like, are you sure you want me to do this? Like, Ken's like, you better do it. We're going to do it.
And so when I asked Rock to hit me in the face with the chair, and he looked at me like he was like bewildered and like, what? I said, hit me in the face. Because they wanted to, like normally how they do it, they hit you in the top of the head or the back of the head. And I'm like, you ain't doing that to me. You're going to hit me in the face and swing from my face because I will take care of the rest. You just do that. And I remember looking at me saying I was crazy, and I said, you better swing it because I won't sell it. And he looked at me and said, oh, I'll swing it.
and it's a macho situation because people who take the hits, they're the ones that are talked about. They're the ones that get all the glory, right? So people are trying to outdo people because they want to be good workers. So it's like I see that in the stunt world. So those are some dangerous things when the culture is showing how tough you are and how much punishment you could take.
Yeah, you're basically a stuntman. Live on camera.
True.
Yeah.
But live on camera is like the show must go on. We don't call cut.
Yeah, you can't redo that stunt.
Yeah.
You got to do the stunts in real time.
Yeah.
And I asked him whether he's known any WWE guys that as they got older are perfectly healthy. He said not a single one. They're all messed up in one way or another. Do all of them have serious permanent injuries from doing the sport?
Yeah, all of them do. All of them do. And not even just, physical issues. They have mental issues because they've dedicated their life to something that isn't real. Like, even fighting, when it comes to the world we live in, isn't real. We don't keep that. There's a world out there we have to live. Sooner or later, we're going to be what is real, and that's the world, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's relatively okay. I mean, he has his aches and pains and stuff like that. But,
yeah,
you know, in general, man, these guys mess themselves up. I don't know. Remember that movie, The Wrestler, with, you know, your friend Mickey Rourke?
Yeah, well, Ernest, my best friend, he's Mickey Rourke's adversary.
Right.
In the Wrestler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and remember, there was that one scene I always remember where he was like at that autograph signing session. He's looking around. It's a guy in a wheelchair, a guy that's like his leg is all up in the air, a guy
I love
in
the fact that they made that movie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, see, that's the stuff that it is in my heart, because it's kind of like I wish they made that for the MMA world, or maybe I will make it one day.
Yeah, you should do one.
You know what I mean? Because it's like just a glimpse into these people that we prop up and we honor. But, you know, the next chapter in their lives, we need to look at that, you know? They're still the same heroic people. So, and with MMA, they're really doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, you know, because Ken Shamrock was part of the original UFC cast, essentially.
Kind of.
Yeah.
He came on a little bit afterwards, but, you know.
Maybe, I mean, he was what? One of the first 10 UFCs?
Yeah, in the first grouping. Yeah, but he was, you know. Because, I mean, when he came along, it was like, he stepped it up.
Hold on a second. Let me look up his record real quick.
Because what was he in? UFC, I don't know, like 5, maybe?
Okay, here we go. His first fight was UFC 3.
3, okay. I
started to say
he
3. Was not a UFC 1.
No, yeah.
But 2 fights later, he was fighting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And after, I mean, if you see when Ken Shamrock came in, that was one of the last ones that they were able, like Hoist was able to wear the gi.
Yeah, we actually talked about that. He said that when Hoist came in with the gi, he was like laughing at him. He was like, what's this guy doing with the gi? Next thing you know, he's getting choked with the gi. Yeah. He's like, what the hell just happened?
Exactly, yeah. It's like, shoot.
Right, and they don't allow gis anymore
exactly,
in UFC.
For that reason.
For that reason,
that was like,
right.
I go in there, and I remember going and shooting on him, and I go to take him down, and he just like spins, and like there was no resistance whatsoever. Where I was struggling or any of that, it was so smooth and easy, and but yet I'm like in bad position. I'm like, how did this happen? And then all of a sudden I feel this thing around my neck, and I'm like, okay, I'll just, because I'm a strong guy, I'll just pull it off. Well, there's nothing to pull off. There's nothing there that I can grab to pull off. And the next thing I know, I'm tapping, and I'm looking up, and I'm going, I just tapped. Like, I'm the champion in Japan. I just tapped. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, how did this happen? And I remember Hoist pointing on me, you tapped. You tapped. And I'm thinking to myself, yes, I sure did, didn't I?
Because, you know, I didn't see that one coming. I'm like, how's Hoist going to deal with this cat? And it was like, oh, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how in those early days, like that was Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was introduced to the world. With those early UFC fights.
They did it really smart.
Yeah, and it was like, you see this guy like Hoist, who's not extremely muscular, he's not huge, he doesn't look like a dangerous guy from the outside looking in, and he went in and killed everybody.
Yes, but let me tell you the truth to this.
Okay.
And if you notice, my instructor, Bill Wallace, was the first color commentator. Now, if you want to look up what he says about it, you know, he had the inside information, and also my surrogate father was also part of that first show with Jim Brown. See, I'm honoring the Gracies by saying that this is very smart of how they did it, but they made sure certain competitors were not involved in that until, because there were people who were making their living in tough man competitions and what have you, that would have made it really hard on them earlier on, right? I know a lot of people in those first shows, these guys were mom and pop karate guys who really never fought on a real stage. And then they bumped them up to seem like they were really great fighters. And while the real fighters were not really, I mean, because you had to go to Gracie's gym to qualify for the show. So they're not going to have one of the killers in those early shows. I mean, if you look at what Bill Wallace speaks about, it's not a fix, but they knew who to bring. They already knew the people they were dealing with. That's why you've never heard of these people. You never heard anybody that in those first shows, they were in like point system karate matches. They were not doing any. There's world champion like Thai boxers, WKA. There was a horde of fighters who had real records. You didn't see anybody. The first person that you saw Ken Shamrock, he actually had pancreas.
Yeah.
But you didn't see the Bas Rutens. You didn't see the Benny Urquidez's and all these people who really knew fighting and wrestling and all that type of stuff. But you couldn't keep them back. The first real celebrated fighter was on his decline that they got in there, and I won a lot of money on this. It was Maurice Smith, a person that was from K1, who got into UFC, fought one of their monsters. It was a Coleman. I believe it was Mark Coleman, or I think it was Mark Coleman. And everybody thought, Mark Coleman was going to kill him. I was like, no. They let a real fighter in there. Maurice had lost several of his matches. So and he's on the downside of his career, but I'm like, no. Maurice has thrown short punches for 20 years. So while Maurice was even on his back, he started to damn near knock out Mark Coleman from just this distance because he was a real striker. And he knocked out Mark Coleman and became the UFC heavyweight champion. But I knew this because now they let real fighters in. And for a very long time, you have not seen a jiu-jitsu guy with any championships. Think about when's the last time you've seen a jiu-jitsu guy with a I'm not hating on jiu-jitsu. I'm admiring the way that they did it, right? Because you sit here now going, wow, they sold this David versus Goliath thing, and they sold it well. Kudos to them. That was the way to do it. If you let one of those killers in there, you wouldn't have the franchise you have now. Because in everybody's mind, jiu-jitsu was the ultimate.
Well, yeah. I mean, Ken Shamrock basically said in our interview, he actually said in our interview that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu became the #1 self-defense system in the world.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's the #1, at least I think it is, but it's got to be the #1 in self-defense as far as when people join for something for self-defense.
Yeah.
And so when you think about what they did, you can complain about it as a fighter all you want. Man, they set that up to be able to promote their... Yeah. So?
You agree with that?
Hell, absolutely. And I'm like, me knowing this, I'm going, they did it the smart way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you had Maurice Smith in the first, it would have been completely different. You just don't do that. If I was, if I was on your side, I'm like, no. You keep. There's been a lot of people I would have been like, keep them off until you establish your brand, and they established their brand in a big way. But I know jiu-jitsu people going to hate on me. Well, I don't give a damn. It's the truth. That's why you're not. You got to have all your skills together. But now you know good and damn well if somebody's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, well, you really got to get your striking and your wrestling together. There's very few pure jiu-jitsu people who run through anybody like that now. Because now it's an equal playing field.
Right, but Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and traditional Jiu-Jitsu are not the same.
No, I did traditional jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's weird to say traditional jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
it's a Japanese word.
Yeah.
I did jiu-jitsu first.
Yeah.
Actually, that was my first style.
Right, but the Gracies kind of created an offshoot of that, which is a bit different. I remember looking this up. It's not the same as jiu-jitsu.
It's not a...
I know it's similar, but it's not the same. There's specific things that the Gracies do.
It's got a vale tudo. It's got more of the aspect of the no-gi thing, but still, those are modified from the traditional jiu-jitsu techniques.
Yeah.
They made it a combative sport. But yeah, it's, again, like I regard jiu-jitsu in the highest regard because that is the one art that has maintained its tradition. And people are not just handed black belts in jiu-jitsu now. And that's the way karate used to be. I don't give a damn how much money you got, how much time. You better really earn that black belt. And right now, you got to earn. Ain't nobody. They're not giving out black belts in jiu-jitsu, even if it takes you 10 years. So that's to me like my most honored art form. So I'm not hating on it, but of course, it is what it is. That is a tool in the whole lexicon of martial arts, and it's been the most widely used self-defense, I think. Well, not rightly so, only because in self-defense, you don't have time to choke somebody. You ain't gonna be on the damn ground. And if there's two people, you in trouble. So the top jiu-jitsu people will tell you in a second, this ain't the best thing for self-defense. They'll tell you that.
Okay, if you were to pick the most effective martial art for a street fight.
Wrestling.
I mean, wrestling. Now that I think about it, wrestling saved my life. The whole home invasion situation. Yeah,
it's like
wrestling actually saved my life. Yeah, you're right.
Wrestling and boxing are almost.
Until you get on the floor, boxing doesn't help you.
Yeah. Well, boxing, because you can take care of things. I have to give the edge to boxing, but wrestling is right there.
Yeah,
right there because the close contact type of thing.
Well, yeah.
I'm not going to say karate. People think I'm going to say karate, but it'll take you a long time to be efficient to use karate first.
No, I mean, listen, I remember that night, which was the most violent incident of my entire life. I knew how to wrestle and this guy did not. And the way I was able to move and maneuver, and I'm not going to go too deep into what happened, but that completely changed the playing field. And I remember when I did what I did, you could tell this guy had no idea what just happened. You know what I'm saying? And the instinct of being on the floor, being able to move around and maneuver and catch someone in certain types of holds, it's like, it's not as instinctive. You have to actually learn how to do it. And although I only did it for a year, my freshman year in high school, I did build up. I had some instincts to it that honestly saved my life that night. So you're right. If you were to pick one martial art, and I've done some karate, I messed around with jiu-jitsu a little bit, I boxed a little bit. Yeah, I would say that wrestling is the most effective thing that I ever learned.
Yeah, I gotta say it's a close second because, if I strike you, it's a fraction of a second, and it could be all done right there if you know how to hit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
but most fights, but even street fights, a lot of times end up on the ground. So I mean, if you don't knock the person out, and now you're on the ground with a wrestler or someone who knows how to wrestle, you're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah, but most people don't know how to block.
Yeah.
You throw a 5-punch combination.
It's a wrap. You're out. That lights out.
Yeah.
Well, what Ken Shamrock said, which was interesting, because I talked about UFC then and now, he said that back then UFC was essentially a street fight.
Yeah.
One round, no breaks.
Back then, again, it was very much a street fight. And there were basically no rules. Like we just discussed, where you talk about a guy going in there and there's no eye gouging, there's no biting, no groin shots. And you could go in the fight and watch. I watched this happen to Josan, where the guy punched him in the groin 3 times and he had to quit. And that was illegal. But the other guy still won because Josan couldn't continue.
And I remember I brought up how Dan Severn who I interviewed, pointed out that eye gouges won't actually get you eliminated.
Yeah, right.
You can gouge someone's eye,
punch somebody in the nuts,
and they'll just give you a point. You can keep on fighting.
Yeah. Bare knuckles. That's why I did Kyokushin, the style I did, because it's something when you can withstand that, your will and your determination can withstand that kind of punishment, and you know how you're tested when you get hit, and can you hit back? That's the different thing. And a lot of people are not going to experience that in their lifetime. So when you know that your will is tested, that's something that's a check mark. You know you can go there. A lot of people are like, yeah, I'm big, if it comes down to it, I'll do, yeah, okay. But when it really happens, you should. I think everybody should fight. Everybody should get it out your system. Learn if you got the fight or flight scenario with you.
Yeah.
It's good to know who you really are.
Oh,
and get tested. Do that on your own time before it's somebody else's time. You know what I mean? So, it's like a kid. You get your ass whipped at home, so you don't get your ass whipped out in the street. Get it out your system.
Yeah, no. Ken Shamrock's Lion's Den.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the first team in MMA, and listen, there was crews before, but that was like the first gym team that they actually put together. And Joe Rogan talked about how he trained with them.
Right.
And, we talked about this in our interview about how it was so hard to go through the routine that they prepared you for the actual fight because they basically put you through a lot worse than what was going to happen in the ring.
Oh, yeah, that's the idea, man. Martial arts should put you through more than life puts you through. That's the balance of it. If my will could withstand this, then out in the street, y'all can't do nothing to me.
Yeah.
That's the idea of it.
Well, the Olympics just passed, and Algerian quote-unquote female boxer Imani Khalif won the gold medal. And there's a lot of controversy over that. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I caught bits and pieces of that.
Well, basically, the controversy was that they say that Imani was born a woman, but apparently in other fights, she didn't pass the various tests in terms of testosterone, and she was eliminated. But when it comes to the Olympics, if your passport says female, then you get to box as female. But, and me and Ken talked about this as well, she's gotten angry at everyone that claims that she's intersex, that she has XY chromosomes and so forth, but she's never actually just taken the test to prove that she's fully female.
But again, it's all speculation. There's been
no
nothing.
Testing. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Zero where anybody has come forward and said, this is what it is, and this is the testing, and this is why this is allowed, right? It's all been people from both sides fighting with one another about what the truth is. And I truly don't understand in that whole scenario. If I was her, right, I would go and get that done and put it to put it done, get it done. No, this is me. But maybe they've got somebody saying not to do that. I don't know, but it just seems to me it's just odd.
She's just threatened to sue people and whatever else. But when you look at her, she doesn't really completely look like a female.
Right.
And there was that one boxing match, remember when she she punched
quit?
that one girl and she basically tapped out after 5 seconds. She's like, I've never been hit this hard. I'm done. And I don't know, it just doesn't sit well on me. What's your take on it?
There's too many variables, man. If I let's cross this bridge. If I'm the woman who's looking at somebody that looks like a man, and I get hit, and that hit is hard, might I convince myself that I just got hit by a man? Right? So it's the belief of that person that is getting hit, because I understand there was other women that fought her as well.
And lost.
Yeah, and beat her.
Really? She's lost to women?
Yeah, that's what I'm to understand. And so,
I mean, not in the Olympics though.
No, not in the Olympics. No, I'm talking about in the past. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is that part, because as one believeth, you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? If so there is that possibility that if I've convinced myself that I'm fighting a man and I get hit, my brain is halfway there. So I'm just giving leeway to the other side of that. Yeah, I know on the surface of what that looks like. Oh, she definitely got hit by a man, whatever. If we can believe that, why can't the woman receiving the punishment believe that?
Yeah. I just feel that the rules with a stage as big as the Olympics, which historically is the most important sporting event of all time, historically.
Mm-hmm.
You should try to do something more than to say, well, if the passport says female, then it's female. Because it only goes one way. No one has a problem with a female entering a male arena, right? No one's going to complain about that. If a female basketball player was so good that she could play on a men's team, nobody would say, that's unfair.
Right.
They would say, okay, great. Obviously, she's good enough to hang with the boys. Let her do her thing. If there was a fully female boxer that was so good, let's just say like a featherweight, that would go in and beat up all the other featherweight men, I don't think anyone would have any problems with that. It'd be like, yo, cool. She just beat up some guy. I remember like in high school, I remember this. I didn't think about this for a long time, but in high school wrestling, there was always this word that one of the schools in our area had a female wrestler, and she was beating guys. And she said that certain guys would cry after getting beat in tournaments.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where it was like, it's kind of like a no-win situation. If you win, it's like, oh, you beat a girl. But if you lose, then you just got beat by a girl. But no one was saying it's unfair that this girl is wrestling with boys. She should be banned. No one's ever said that.
Right.
The only problem is when people who are biologically men insert themselves into female sports.
Right.
That's where the whole problem is, and that's where I have the problem.
Be. Yeah. Of course. It should be that way.
Especially martial arts.
True.
Yeah.
not martial arts and majority of sports.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's a physical sport that men aren't unfairly dominant.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, maybe volleyball, but no, probably not even volleyball.
No. Come on, you got guys with verticals that are like to the ceiling. I mean, come on.
Trying to think. Not golf. I mean, you don't see any superstar female golfers that could beat Tiger Woods. Tennis.
No, not even.
Not even tennis. But remember, there was that whole thing like with Billie Jean King, the battle of the sexes that happened. But the guy that she
supersede that, because even Venus Williams admits that she wouldn't be what she'd be like. If she was a man, she'd be number 300 or something like that.
Yeah.
Something way down.
Or Serena.
Yeah, she admits that.
Yeah.
So it's an unbelievable advantage.
Yes.
So the Billie Jean King thing is just, come on.
Well, yeah, but Billie Jean King beat, because I remember it was a guy who beat
Bobby Riggs.
Bobby Riggs. Well, he beat a female tennis player first, but he's also wasn't like a ranked male tennis player. He was just a guy that was trying to prove a point.
The Venus thing tells
Billie
a lot
Jean
more
King demolished him.
Because Venus would have destroyed Billie Jean King.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that supersedes it all.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just like men have an unusual advantage. I mean, I remember watching Boris Kodjoe, the actor, right, playing Serena Williams in his tennis court and giving her advice. And I'm like, what am I watching here? He was a college tennis player, but that's when I was like, wait, that's Venus but they're good friends. But he's like, Mike, it's too much of an advantage,
Yeah.
Like if I didn't see that with my own eyes, I'm like, oh my God, it's a major difference.
No, I remember I interviewed Marcel Swiley. He pointed out, which was so funny. He said the fastest female runner of all time, Flojo, is actually slower than the fastest high school runner who's male.
The fastest woman ever was Flojo. Ever. Like billions and billions of women in this world. She is the fastest woman that has ever existed. And she ran a 10.49. The fastest man ever exists, Usain Bolt, ran a 9.58. That's almost a second in the 100. That means literally Usain Bolt will finish and you could go like this. Hey man, who else is in the race? Oh, that's the fast. That's forever.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. High school boys that are good to great run faster than the fastest woman who has ever existed.
Yeah. I was training with a 5-time Olympic runner, female, that I used to date. She's been in 5 Olympics, and she could never beat me in the 100 meters.
Really?
Never beat me in 100 meters.
Wow. And you're not built as a runner either.
I was a decathlete. I'm faster than you. People don't expect me to be as fast as I am.
Okay.
Not running or striking, but I'm not a professional runner. I mean, I did it a long time ago, but that's the truth. Like she could never beat me in the 100 meters.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's taking her medals.
I'll
take this, thank you. It's
just a physical difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she used to laugh at me because I move so slow normally, I take my time about everything, but she's like very frustrated. We were trained together, but she'd get pissed off that, she's really trying to beat me. And I'd beat her even giving her a head start. Yeah. So it's different. And like I said, she's 5 Olympics. Yeah.
Well, Dana White recently announced that Conor McGregor won't be fighting this year. He has not had a fight since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to fight Michael Chandler last June, but that hasn't happened. So this guy was essentially the face of UFC, and he hasn't had a fight in 3 years. It's now coming up on 4 years.
Right, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
He's rich as hell?
Too rich, yeah. They actually, matter of fact, I think he just announced he's going to be running for president of Ireland.
Okay.
He's definitely going to win.
I hope not.
What do you mean?
Why? What? Like, come on, it shouldn't be a popularity contest.
It's not a popular. Why do you think Trump got elected?
I could tell you a lot. I have a lot of theories on that one. I mean, it's a perfect storm in this country. I mean, there are people. It's after Obama. I think the latent racism that a lot of people harbored came out.
I don't know. I mean,
are you kidding me?
You could say that. You could say that.
Okay.
But, I mean, Hillary did win the popular vote, so it's not like it was completely to that level. I personally think that Donald Trump was a major celebrity. He was on a major TV show. And when he campaigned, he would go to all these places where celebrities have never even gone to. He brought his star power into the mix.
But where are the places that he went to?
Middle America.
Let's.
With all white people, I get it.
Let's go back in history, okay? Back when the slavery was abolished, right? There were these white people who now were at the bottom of society because slaves had a trade. They knew how to do something, but there was these white people that were uneducated and poor. That were now, they offered nothing. That's where the KKK came from. All these disenfranchised poor white folks, they needed somebody to look down on. Because why would they would mobilize to get the KKK going. All of that, those people, there's a lot of, those people didn't go nowhere. There's still people who offer nothing to society, uneducated and all that kind of stuff. But hey, they were there. And what do you need to do? As long as you could identify with that group and tell them what they wanted to hear, all right? Because nobody really spoke to them before in the way that they hear it. Very simple. Okay? He, you know, it was very smart to go to those people and tell them, you the chosen ones. This is, I'm here for you. And give them, because they're not heard, right? So, and those people now had 8 years under Obama, the most powerful man in the country. Now, it's one thing for white folks who don't know they're racist to say, you know, hey, I'm good with black people, because black people were in their lives on their own time, right? You know, I got a black friend, but wait till a black guy marries your daughter. Oh, now it's a little different. Ooh, now I got some other things going on, because that's not on your time. You know, that person's now in your face. And Obama was a guy who married into your family. Now you're looking at the most powerful man in the country. And what did I say earlier? If however you thinketh, right? You're gonna find things to support whatever your mindset is. So these people that had to look at this Obama, and then people talking about racism, like, no, racism's done. That's the most powerful man. No, I don't want to hear nothing anymore, you know? And the last thing they wanted to hear is about black people being, you know, racially, like, profiled or whatever, because they're dealing with this man. And the ugliness is starting to come out. Anything that that man did, they attacked. And here comes Trump talking your language. To me, that is a perfect storm for those people who felt downtrodden and not heard to get back up there and make America great again.
Well, listen, you and I are both right. What we're talking about is ideas, and ideas are just that. There's no true or false to ideas, right? So obviously what you're saying, there's a lot of truth in it. But when you look at the actual numbers, Obama won by landslides both times.
Right.
So why didn't these racist white people mobilize against Obama?
Because they didn't have their man in place yet.
But they had, Obama ran against two white guys who both lost
No.
horribly.
Not two white guys who was speaking their language and said everything that they wanted to hear. Right? Because, you know, you could sit there and go, well, this man knew what he was doing. You know, there's a lot to show that he particularly did this. And I mean, come on, I shouldn't even have to.
Well, no, I mean, listen,
I shouldn't even have to be a detective on this. All this stuff is well known.
Look, Mitt Romney was like a billionaire. You know, clearly Mitt Romney did not connect with the trailer trash of America.
Exactly. You know? the way this man speaks, everybody, I understood everything he said. Yep, I feel the same damn way.
Right. I don't think Mitt Romney ever had a mayonnaise sandwich. But Trump probably tried it once or twice.
Yeah, man. Because you know, on every level, man. You think about this for a second. Okay, not even being political about this. If your group is called, you are a Trump supporter. Just look at that. You are a Trump supporter. Doesn't that have the same connotation as a fringe group or a cultish type of, like, it's a weird thing, because think about that. There's no Obama supporter.
You're right.
There's no anything other. Why do you designate a name for what you are.
Right. There's no equivalent of a MAGA hat for Obama supporters, Biden supporters.
But willfully they say, I'm
Hillary
a Trump
Clinton
supporter.
Yes.
But that belongs in the same category as I'm a, flat earther. I'm a tea party. It's because these fringe groups have names to them that they dignify themselves to.
Right.
So it's like, okay, just being very objective about it. Why are you called a Trump supporter? Why is there a designation and a name to what your group is if there's not a fringe element to it?
Okay. See where we go.
We don't have Reagan support. Show me another thing where the word supporter comes or there's a designation of a particular group.
Yeah, no, I can't think of it.
You're calling yourself a fringe group and it's out in the open. Interesting. Even if I was a Trump supporter, I would sit back and go, what is that about?
Right. You're not just saying you're voting for Trump. You're saying you're a Trump supporter. You're all in into the whole
Hillary supporter,
culture of it.
There was no, there was no name that you needed to be any other kind of supporter.
What'd you think when Trump got shot?
Oh man, my brother's Secret Service, right?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. He just retired, but he knew the people on that detail, and he's like, he knew the
person. Are they still employed, by the way?
Well, one of the things is,
because the head of the Secret Service had to
he
step
was
down
like,
after.
man, what happened there? And he's got his insight to it, and he's like, first of all, they really boggled that because you get fired on. The president or whomever, ex-president or whatever, now is your client. You are in control. That man should not be in control. But of course, he wasn't the president, right? And one of the things that my brother explains is that security is the first thing to go in a budget. They always cut down on security because it's expensive and it's a pain in the ass. All security is a pain in the ass to the person being secured because every bit of your movement is always hindered because of security, and people go, God damn it, no, that's enough. And there's a first thing in a budget they slash. Until something happens, and then
pump it back up again.
But that's the nature of things. That's the nature of security. It should be damn expensive, and like knowing, and I'm kind of into it. I do a lot of tactical training. I've been doing that for years, right? I'm kind of a nerd with that, and the competition shooting, that kind of stuff. This is part of that. That's my golf. I do that kind of stuff. But so I look at things from that tactical eye, and I got a lot of tactical, nerds. My brother-in-law, all these guys are military and deep in their consultants and former contractors and stuff like that. So I'm kind of into that world. But yeah, there's a lot going on there and some suspicious stuff as well.
Yeah, we interviewed Nicholas Irving, aka the Grim Reaper. He was a former Army sniper.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what it was, 30 kills under his belt.
Right.
And, he basically said that Trump just got lucky because he moved his head, because he really should have gotten shot in the head because it wasn't that far of a distance.
Mm-hmm.
So 100 yards is like your standard football field. And like, that's just not far. That's not, and when it comes to shooting, 100 yards is not far at all. My opinion, I think everybody should be able to shoot at least 100 yards. It's so not in the basic training in the Army. In basic training, we shoot out to 300 yards without scope, without anything, at three football fields away.
It was like 150 yards,
mm-hmm.
and the guy was on the roof by himself and so forth. Yeah. So he was probably nervous and, so forth. Obviously, he hasn't done this before, but yeah, it was just kind of a crazy situation that, now other presidents have been shot and other ex-presidents have been shot. I mean, there's the Reagan shooting. I remember that. That was in my lifetime.
Yeah, but they didn't know if there was another shooter. I mean, they allowed this man to pop back up and do that. That could have been it right there if there was another shooter.
Yeah, no. I mean, he said if he was the shooter, he would have absolutely, hit his target. And also as a sniper, he would do things where he could get away. He would basically have a decoy, something go off on a different direction. Right, everyone would be looking over there, and then he'd be able to hit his target and get away while everyone's looking in the wrong direction and so forth. Man. I mean, being a sniper it's a hell of a job. And obviously this kid who got killed afterwards wasn't trained or whatever else, but the guy was actually a Republican, was a registered Republican.
Yeah, I heard he had an advanced IQ. It was something.
I heard something about that. Me and D.L. Hughley were talking about that, but he was working at a old folks home. So it's how smart could he be if that was his profession after high school?
No, you can't do that. As DL pointed out, and I saw that interview, I mean, Kuklinski.
Yeah, no,
but
not
he
was
the Unabomber.
The Unabomber. No, but
What's
the Unabomber was a college professor at one point.
Oh, he's like Harvard.
Right, yeah. He was Harvard educated. That's what I'm saying. He went to Harvard.
What's his damn name?
Whatever. Hold on.
Unabomber. It's
Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski, yeah. No, but Ted Kaczynski actually had a real career in academia and went to Harvard and everything else like that and decided that he's anti-technology and went to go live in the woods. That's a little different than someone who graduated high school and helping old people their bedpans. I'm just saying, not exactly the job of a uber-intelligent human being.
Yeah, but
I'm not downplaying this profession. It's a profession that's much needed. But I think most people that go into that profession usually don't have a lot of education and usually, or maybe they just really like working with old people. I don't know. I'm just saying, if he has a super IQ, probably have a different job. That's all I'm saying. Shout out to all the old folks, home workers, who watch my show. I'm glad y'all around. My dad was in one of these facilities at one point, and there were some very nice people that I met. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know.
CYA, okay.
Now, Kamala's running.
Yeah.
What do you think about people who say that she's not really black?
Stupid. Again, the theme of this is everybody if you want to say something against her, that's what you're going to say. People, if it's in you to want to hate, you got to find something. And so what can you do? You got to go on the non-black thing, which is weak as shit. So go ahead, look for something else. But that shows me that there's not much against her. If you're going for, what does that shit matter? Okay, say she's not black, whatever. And the fuck does that matter? So go ahead and do your hate. What's the point? Oh, well, Kamala doesn't. So you gonna vote for the other guy? Shut the fuck up. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so so it's equal. What cracks me up are people, the undecideds. Oh my goodness, the undecideds. Oh, you can't see a difference? Or people feel that it's such a case of what is it? You learn, you know a little bit, and the fact that you know a little bit, you think you know damn everything?
Well, I actually looked it up. The Dunning-Kruger
Dunning-Kruger.
effect?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I've never actually heard this before.
No,
There's a cognitive bias that describes when people with
exactly.
limited knowledge or skill in a specific area overestimate their own abilities.
Exactly. Nowadays it's the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Some signs include being loud and opinionated, overestimating skills, failing to recognize other skills and knowledge, failing to recognize mistakes and shortcomings and feelings. There is not much to learn from others.
Exactly. I mean, like with martial arts, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect in a big way. Everybody knows a little something about it, but they want to profess to know everything. But nowadays with social media, Dunning-Kruger effect, everybody knows a little bit, and then they want to be authorities on it because of ego or what have you. To be intelligent is to know what you don't know, and if for me to kind of expound on something, I need to know both sides of things, right? But when I come down to it, and all these people who if you want to hate Kamala, you're gonna try to find something. So yeah, if that's all you come up with, is she black or is she what? Is she half Indian? Whatever. What does it matter?
Well, she's just as black as Obama is.
She's
Obama's
blacker.
half black, right? Half white.
How much blacker can you get than somebody pledging a black sorority
at an HBCU?
At an HBCU,
right?
I'm sorry, that makes you blacker than everybody else. I mean, you know.
What did D.L. Hughley say? And she dated a guy named Willie.
Right. I mean, come on. Even black people, that increases your blackness by about 40%.
40%.
if you are a part of a fraternity or sorority, that's like you got to have extra blackness ingrained in you historically. You know what I mean? So come on now. So even if you were white and you pledged a black sorority, that should make you black.
Are there white people who pledge black sororities?
I doubt that. But damn, if you did that much research in your history and that much pride in who you are, who black people are, that should make you pretty damn black. That should increase your blackness by a lot. So she's blacker than Obama would ever be by doing that. Would you think about what Obama would be, how black Obama would be if he was a Q?
Oh, yeah.
Come on. That's crazy.
Yeah, his white mother would just disappear. Right?
Yeah. That's just, he just... Yeah.
You just fade out of existence.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can't get more black than, being AKA. Come on now.
Right.
You got to say ski-wee and shit like that. Come on, man. Yeah.
Well, the other conspiracy theory around Kamala is that while she was district attorney in San Francisco, she got 1,500 black men put in prison over marijuana charges.
Yeah, she did her job, is what she did,
right.
Which was...
Well, here's the reality of this statement, because I remember when me and DL talked about this, he said the same thing. And then at one point, he actually was face-to-face with her.
Right.
And she said, DL, if that were true, I would be upset as well.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead and do your research.
Yeah, but yeah.
And he did his research. He realized that it's actually not true. She actually locked up around 55 people, which is about half the number of the previous DAs.
Brother, think about this for a second, man. I keep going to this thing. Think about, okay, what part of DL wanted to feed that?
Right, and he apologized publicly for that.
But think about what part of DL wanted that to be true.
Huh.
So he did not do research. But he heard that, and there's something in his spirit that said, man, she locked up a bunch of black men. When you really think about it, is it a part of her job? There's a lot of things. You got to think, okay, what came first? And so is there a part of you that's frustrated that you want to lash out at this person and you found the material to do that? Or what? Because I would argue that it's what we first feel, and then we find the supportive material, right? Because if we felt good about something, we find material to support how we feel.
Yeah.
On your platform, man, there are a lot of people. There's a lot of inner city black folks. I don't know of a black person who hasn't been a victim of trauma. If you think about it, okay. Little Timmy is spoken to by his teacher this way, and now he's affected. Now he's triggered by ABC. Or somebody misgendered this person. Little Timmy's been misgendered. Or now we start to see in society the effect of some sort of trauma, however little it is, how it can manifest. Okay, if that's true, what the hell about what that black people experienced for generations should affect us? Is there not been trauma, a historical trauma that's in our fathers and grandfathers and everything, these things that trickle down? Okay, could you start to step back and see that so many people are victims of some kind, misgendered? How about, being told who you are and defined in the media as this and that or whatever, and you have to figure out who you really are. You know what I mean? In the midst of all that, there's a lot of traumatic people, victims of trauma that are listening right now and don't even realize, because it's just part of the world. And they don't know why they're looking at this post and looking for something to criticize. Oh, this motherfucker. There's going to be a lot of that. But it's just the way of the world. And a lot of people are clicking the button because they want to live vicariously through things. They want to get this out. They want somebody to express their anger, and they look at the gangsterism. They want to live vicariously through that, because we're all suffering a lot of trauma, man. And as long as we're like, feeding that, we're not going to change much of it. We got to kind of step out, right? And know that that's what the case is. But it starts with yourself, you know what I mean? So like the DLs, the me's, the everybody, when we go, oh man, there's a through line to all of this. And we start to look at, okay, we want to see things that support our implied images. We want to see the things support the way we think.
Yeah.
Then Trump supporters want to see things that would support the way they think.
Right. Echo chambers.
Yeah, man. And
social media is the perfect place for this.
It's the breeding ground for it. But on this flip, if it's in your spirit to be uplifted, you can find that too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can find it, but you got to be looking for it. Because if I hate white people and I think all white people are prejudiced, I'm only going to see the prejudiced white people.
Right.
I'm not going to see the ones that are not, because my mindset is already set for that. And if we start thinking about, okay, is that what we're doing? Can I learn something about myself and step out of it? It all starts with us. I'm on a soapbox right now.
It's all good.
Forgive me. But it's the way I feel. This thing could be positive or negative, depending on our mindset.
Yeah, I used to always think that the whole, behavior being passed down over generations, I always thought it was bullshit. And then recently, I watched a documentary on Netflix about dogs.
Uh-huh.
And what they pointed out that I never realized was that wolves and dogs are 99.99% the same in terms of DNA.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But what would happen, historically, is as humans started to multiply around the planet, they created a lot of food waste.
Mm-hmm.
And wolves would come by and eat the waste.
Mm-hmm.
Certain wolves that were friendly to humans would be taken in as pets. And then they would be bred with
yeah.
other wolves that were friendly to humans.
Mm-hmm.
It was survival of the nicest, essentially.
Yeah.
So as you would breed these traits, you know, the wolf that would attack you, you wouldn't want around as a pet.
True.
But the wolf that was nice and would eat your food and, you know, would hang out with you and not bite your kids, they would reproduce these wolves. And eventually, now you see all these different dogs, from Cocker Spaniel to, you know, to St. Bernard to a Rottweiler like I have. And my Rottweiler is great. You know, I've never been bit by, I'm on my second Rottweiler. I've never been bit by my dog, ever. And no one in my family has ever been bit by my dog.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing, that this nice trait of an animal was reproduced and its offspring were nice and its offspring's offspring was nice. So what makes you think that humans whose ancestors were nice aren't going to have offspring that are nice? Humans that have a lot of anger and bitterness have kids that have the same traits to them. Like, it made sense to me after that point.
It's easy to trace certain things. Like, okay, like I remember one time, you know, I do a lot of motivational speaking for at-risk. Because I was a school teacher and I taught emotionally disturbed. I remember one time I had given a discussion, I think it was in East St. Louis or someplace like that, where people were saying, hey, you know, Mr. White, why do you think there's so much violence in the Black community? And I said, wait a minute, now let's look at that. Well, you go, so where do you think that, you know, violence was introduced into the Black family? Where do you think they got the idea from, I'm gonna get this leather belt and I'm gonna whip you and I'm gonna tell you how many lashes I'm gonna hit you with? You think that's something that we developed in Africa? Do you really think so? So where did they get that from? You know, and everybody,
although Africa has been historically very violent, let's not just say that Africa was kumbaya and everyone loved each other.
I'm saying what I'm saying. You trying to turn it into something else. You trying to detour. I'm bringing it back on the road. I'm saying something very specific.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm saying something very specific.
Okay.
Where the hell did they get an idea to grab a belt and use a leather belt to whip their children into complying?
Okay.
Or using that as a tool.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm going to push back on this. I'm going to push back on this.
Yeah, well, let me finish. So, and I'm going to tell you how many lashes you're going to get, okay? And violence became a tool, right?
Okay.
And an expression of frustration and make you comply and do things I want. So, you are going to get a what? Whipping. That's not an African word, is it? So, okay, introducing violence to Black folks as a tool. Plain and simple, without turning anything, where the hell do you think that, you obviously know where that came from. And, you know, me whipping you is, you know, that's an expression of love and it's keeping you straight or whatever, as opposed to using anything else, articulation, or anything else as a tool. And so on the street, when somebody gets pissed off at me, I'm going to whoop their ass. I'm going to whip their ass. Nah, yeah, that's an African thing, right? Come on. You go ahead and try to push back on that.
Okay. This is the way I'm going to push back on it. Physical punishment with children has historically been around the world.
That's a very broad way. I'm saying very specific.
It's just recently, I think this is a relatively recent thing, particularly in America. I'm not sure how it is in other countries because I only live here. But my parents whooped me with a belt a few times growing up, and they're from the Ukraine. You know, they have nothing to do with slavery or anything else like that. You know, there's no ancestors or whatever else. I think in general, parents would whip their children historically because that was considered okay. Even teachers would whoop students. And that was considered perfectly legal up until maybe 20, 30 years ago.
They both could coexist and has nothing to do with the
well, I'm
other.
just saying, it's not unique to Black kids getting whooped by their parents.
Yes, it is.
Really? I don't know about that.
Oh, no.
I don't know about it.
It's a past. If you... Okay, you gonna fix...
You're telling me that white parents wouldn't whoop their children in the 1800s, 1900s, the 50s, the 60s?
So I'm gonna ask you. You gonna?
I got whooped by my parents. I'm telling you.
You gonna answer this? You gonna answer this honestly right now?
Okay, let's go.
You think it's the same ratio?
Yeah, I do actually.
Think about it a little bit longer.
I think so.
You think that white parent, believe me, you think there's a possibility that little Johnny ain't going to say, fuck you, mom, and all that type of shit if they got whipped?
I think it goes into
Stop it.
I think it goes into the economic levels and
Listen
education
to what I
levels of the
just
family.
said.
I think that if you go to trailer homes around the country, poor white kids are getting whooped.
You just went to trailer homes. Wait. Listen to what
I think.
Hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying.
Do you think the rich black families?
Wait. When I just described little Johnny cussing his mother out, you know why I wanted to talk about a trailer. You know good and damn well I wasn't. You're going to the bottom 12% of white people.
I think it's an economic thing. I think that rich black parents probably whoop their kids less than poor black parents.
Of course, but
because of the education level.
You keep changing things.
And the economic level.
You keep changing things. I'm not talking about
I'm saying it's the economic thing.
Okay.
I think poor people are more prone to violence than rich people.
Exactly.
And that's not a good thing. I'm not happy about that.
I will tell you right now that poor black people and poor white people are pretty much the same damn people.
Exactly. That's my point.
But that's not what I'm point. That's not my point. That's not my point. What I'm saying is a majority. Okay? You're talking about the bottom 12% of white people, and I don't think all of them do that. I think, poor black people account for a larger percentage. Therefore, there's a larger percentage of black people who grew up with that construct. You can't tell me that it was introduced by the slave masters. So, you mean to tell me in the 1950s there exists a black person who hadn't been whipped by their parent? Do you think that was possible?
Absolutely. In
the 1950s.
In the 1950s.
So we disagree, because I would venture a guess that nobody had not been whipped by their parent. I'm talking like a damn near 100%.
Okay, so you're saying in a black household in the 1950s where
there's no black person who had not been whipped.
Parents are educated and have good jobs, they approach the rearing of their children in the same way as a poor black family? I don't think so. I think they approach it. I think once you have education and once you have a certain amount of money, you approach things a little bit differently.
Just answer
That's all I'm saying.
So I'm saying, so you think that there's somebody in the 50s, right? A black person in the 50s that hadn't been whipped by their parent. That's what you're saying. So you say you don't think so. We disagree.
I think that as a parent,
you say
not every parent.
Not talking about as a parent
beats their kids.
Listen to what I'm saying.
You're saying every parent in the 50s that was black beat their kids.
No, that's not
100%. No, that's what you're saying, right?
You keep changing my. I gave it to you in a very simple way.
You said, do you think there's a black family in the 50s that didn't beat their kids? A black person. Okay.
In the 50s who hadn't been beaten by one of their parents.
Yes, I think there was plenty.
Okay. I disagree.
You're a father. Have you beaten your kids?
I'm not from the 50s.
You're a father. Have you ever beaten your kids?
No, I have not.
Because I think that parents approach child rearing differently depending on who they are.
Yes, but that's not my argument.
Certain parents will say, I'm not going to hit my kids. I'm going to reason with them.
If you're a black person in the 50s, you were born earlier. I'm not saying a fetus in the 50s.
Yeah, if you were in the 20s or 30s in the 50s?
Yeah, I don't...
So you were born in the 30s?
Yeah, because believe me, in a very short time, we're talking about descendants of slaves.
Yeah.
Right? So to actually argue this point is kind of funny. But so at least you would say there's the majority of black people were very close to being... I mean, it's not like we came up rich. It's almost like, well, yeah, in the 50s, there's these black people who were allowed to live in the same circumstances that white. No, we couldn't do that, first and foremost. So simply, that has been introduced. Violence was introduced in our culture, Black American culture, in a much different way. That was introduced and put upon us. And violence as a method of communication, therefore, has been introduced to us in an exorbitant way. Plain and simple. You know that that's true. Because, again, somebody will walk out right now. I get pissed off. The thought is, I'll whip your ass. Okay? There's a direct correlation. And so I don't know if you think that I'm trying to say something more profound. I'm just saying, in our society, there's a big difference. And it's the reason why a lot of people fear us. And a lot of people think of, I don't want to deal, violence has been, if imagine I'm a black guy from the inner city and I say I've never been in a fight. You'd be like, you never been in a fight?
Once again, economic. You're talking about an economic situation. I could show you a whole bunch of black people who grew up upper class, grew up in Calabasas, grew up in gated communities, who have never been in fights.
Every time I say this, you talk about the smallest percentage of black people.
I think it comes down to economics. I think it comes down to environment. I think it comes down to the education of the family. Behavior.
We agree on that.
But behavior. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And even in lower economic situations, there are people who break the cycle. Yes, my mom beat me, but when I have kids, I'm not going to beat my kids. Dude, my mom was on drugs.
There's no argument to that. But what you're choosing to do is take the smallest percentage of what I'm talking about to discredit a larger percentage.
Man. I don't think any parent enjoys beating their kids.
Are there more rich black people than poor?
Are there more rich people than poor?
Oh, see,
people. Take the word black out of it. Rich people are the minority, period.
You don't want to answer one of my questions.
Rich people are the minority, period. Yes, unfortunately in America, there's a higher percentage of poor black people than there are people of other races, unfortunately. Right. I think it's slowly changing over time. Mm-hmm. And now, when you look at sort of America, the biggest growing group is who?
Biracial.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So now it's all kind of becoming all mishmash anyways. You know what I'm saying? Are you black? Are you white? I don't know. Like, I'm 1/4 black. Am I really black? According to who? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's now becoming very gray area and so forth. But to say that every black child was beaten by their parents and that's just the way it was all across the board. I don't think that there's.
It's easy
as a parent. I don't think this is true.
If you restate my statement in your own way, right, which is not my statement, it sounds much better. I give you that. If I said that now, it don't make no damn sense.
Right.
But we disagree.
We can agree to disagree.
In the 50s, I think a lot of black folks got their ass whooped.
Obviously, the violence of slavery carried on even to today.
Yeah.
No, I'm not the person that's saying, slavery's over, so racism has gone away. No, I understand that. I understand even and I've talked about this before, it didn't really dawn on me as to how intrinsic the effects of slavery was in America until I went to Africa.
Oh, yeah.
I went to Senegal and I realized there's really no racial tension out here.
Right, yeah.
I'm hanging around all these black people in Senegal that are perfectly okay being black and me being white, and there's no tension. There's no history of slavery.
True, yeah.
It's like, I'm just a regular guy that they're running into, whatever my color is.
Like me being
This is their shit. I'm a visitor in their country.
Yeah.
Their president is black. Their vice president is black.
Yeah.
Everyone in the government is black.
Yeah.
People in the banks are black. I'm an oddball.
I felt like,
there's no racism.
I'm out in Africa and I'm going, well, damn, I could hitchhike here.
Yeah.
But
have you ever picked up a hitchhiker?
No.
One of the worst decisions of my life.
Yes, we did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, man. In college, man, we picked up a prostitute, and we didn't know she was a prostitute. We thought it was a girl that just needed a ride.
Right.
Man, we're pivoting on these things.
Yeah.
but
that was Eddie Murphy's excuse when he picked up the transgender, by the way.
Yeah, well, this wasn't
He
a
just said,
transgender.
it's
This
a
is
girl who needed a
a real
ride.
woman. And we're like, yeah, we're going to drop you off. And she's like, you going to drop me off? I thought it was going. I was like, oh shit. And then we turned it into an interview when we figured it out. And it was like, hey, I asked every question I ever wanted to ask a prostitute because I never met one like that before. But how did we get here? Oh, but let me
hold on. Let me just tell you my hitchhiker story.
Yeah.
The one and only time in my life. I don't think I've ever told this on camera before. I was 16. I just got my license and I had a truck. Right, I had a Nissan truck with a shell on the back, and I was a few blocks away from my house. And at a gas station, there was a guy in a wheelchair that was flagging me down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, there's a guy in a wheelchair. Let me pull over. So he's like, hey, man, I don't have any money. Do you think you can give me a ride home? I live like maybe 15, 20 minutes away. And I'm like, okay, sure. It's a guy in a wheelchair. I'm trying to help out. Put his wheelchair in the back, sit him in the front seat. And as we're driving, he's like, yeah, I just got back from Vegas. That's where all the snakes, and they all want to kill you. But I know how to get away from them. I hold my breath as long as I can until I black out.
Oh, man.
And I'm driving going like, well, this is the way it's going to end for me. This guy's going to kill me and bury me somewhere, drive off with my truck. Mental note, never pick up another hitchhiker for the rest of your life. And that was the end of the story. I dropped him off and never looked back.
That's good. He killed the next person. But yeah, one thing I wanted to say, man, is like I saw Aries, and let me tell you, man, I got to be. I'm almost a member in the Church of Aries Spears. The brother. I really agree with most of what he says.
Yeah, me too.
And I think it was very heroic of him to put himself out like that. And a lot of there's some things I don't agree with. One of the things that I disagree with. Oh, and by the way, he and I dated the same woman at one time.
Oh.
But let him tell you that story. It's far funnier if he tells it to you.
Okay.
Remind him. But anyway, one thing that Aries says, and I used to agree with Aries and Smokey Robinson on this, is that I was so proud to be a Black American, right? I didn't feel the need to say African American. I felt exactly how they did. I'd been to several countries in Africa and felt like, I was in, I went to Congo, I went to Djibouti, Rwanda, Nairobi, Kenya, South Africa. I was been in a lot of those places, and I'm going, hey, Black American, I'm proud. We've accomplished a great deal. Do they really feel like we're connected with? Until I went to Ghana. Everything changed. Like what happened was I found out, I got roots in Ghana. That's my lineage. But I'm not one of those people who just like is going to get on the bandwagon. I'm back in Mother Africa and all this kind of stuff. But one thing that occurred to me is, think about if you run into an Asian dude on the street and you say, well, where are you from? And he says, I'm from Cleveland. My people are from Cleveland. You'd be like, that's not right. Where are you from? No, Cleveland. It's stupid, right? It's silly to think that man's beginnings were from Cleveland. There's more to this story. It's exactly the same for us, for me. When I would say South Carolina and Louisiana, because my mother was from South Carolina, my father was from Louisiana, that's, even if I didn't know what lineage I had, that's part of the story. Just as much as the Asian dude. When I think, oh shit, I'm thinking the beginning of who I am is a slave. Deal with that for a second. I think my beginnings of my historical background started in South Carolina and fucking Louisiana. What do you think that does to my psyche? Think about it for a second.
That's a good point.
And the fact that I knew that there was a bigger trek that started in Ghana. And believe me, I'm not one of those that like, I want to hold on to mother. No, I was cool being a Black American and very proud of it. But damn it, I realize that me telling myself that South Carolina was enough, oh, that's some bullshit. For me, I can only speak for me. But when I went back and the way I felt, man, I wish this for anybody black living in this country. Even, I think you free yourself and you see yourself in a different way when you, even if you say, which I think the right answer is, when somebody says, where are you from? And you go, I actually don't know where my historical African roots are, but my great-grandfather was from North Carolina or whatever. That frees you to know that there's more to your story. Mm. But when I learned about Ghana and when I went back there, it felt different from every place else because I felt like, oh, shoot, when I landed in Ghana and I looked around, I'm like, yo, if you put a Nike shirt on this cat right there, he looks like he could be walking right on Ventura. And I clearly saw where the slaves came from because I'm going, these look exactly like American black people right now. And in Benin and places like that. Well, when I'm in Eritrea and places like that, I stick out like a sore thumb. He's like, yeah, hey, where's this big black American? Oh, he's right there. I would stand out like a sore thumb. And you realize that's where you got these big old strapping black folks from. And to know that we weren't slaves, man. We were absolutely talented farmers and technical people, like, because that was the industry in Africa. You had to know how to farm. They kidnapped successful working people to build the country.
Yeah. But
psychologically, slaves is the term. Okay? And believe me, I'm not that cat that's like, yes, I'm not this dude. I'm not that guy because there's not something in me that feels like something's missing and I got to put that in there. Till I realized, and I went there, I can never look at myself the same. And oh my goodness, like I say, I wish that for everybody to find out. And it's not on some, new age shit. It's just, the truth.
Well, did you hear there was an interview with Richard Pryor that he did a long time ago?
Exactly.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, exactly. When he stops using the N-word.
There you go. I'd rather you say it than me.
Yeah. You can say N-word. That's okay. I'm saying N-word.
Right. Well, I'd rather you just tell the whole story.
Yeah, but of course.
It was basically...
He was the biggest proponent. He put that word on the map more than any human being in our society.
Right.
Then learned there's no such word.
Right. When he went to Africa...
Yeah, he went to such word and he says,
and they say,
are there any N-words here? And he says, and he realized there isn't any.
Yeah, all I see is beautiful black people.
Yeah. And when you think about, like, okay, what Africans have you met? Okay. The majority of the Africans that I meet are like scientists and doctors and I've been to like 9 to 12 countries in Africa. And one thing I learned is that everybody talks like this. They talk this way. And I'm like, what? Realizing we loud as hell. We are loud as hell in comparison, man. Everybody's genteel in the way that they speak, and it's very educated. And, of course, we've been sold a bill of goods about what Africa is. But I've been, ever since being out there, I'm making partnerships with companies in Africa for film and TV, and I'm trying to bring everybody to that. I want to build this bridge because, there's international movies. I didn't know, bro, till I went to Africa, how famous I was out there. I had no clue. I'm like, me and my wife are getting to this hotel and there's a big festival going on. And I'm like, man, they got some big ass festival going on. How do we get around this? I'm going to, get inside and wash up, come out the car and realize the festival is for me. And I got people throwing stuff around me. I'm like, whoa. And, I come out the slave castle one day and I get lifted up by the crowd and passed along the crowd, like, you know, like the crowd surfing thing. And I'm like, yo, like, I didn't know, but people, because I do movies where it uplifts, it empowers other folks. I don't think about it. I don't think of every day of my life, I don't think about me as a celebrity, right? I'm just me, right? I like just being me, I don't want all that attention anyway. But I forget what it looks like in the eyes of a young African child or people in the Caribbean who they've taken movies of mine and the DVDs and projected them in theaters. I didn't know this. And I go to these different countries and they are bereft of a person that looks like me defeating the conqueror in movies. It means a lot to them. But I don't want to be the last one that's doing that. You know, I mean, action movies sell worldwide, and that's what I'm about. And and the idea of putting movies together and connecting, you know, the diaspora to films, like using their talent and we're making these world movies, that's my jam, and I'm really excited about that. You know, I hope everybody else starts putting Africa on their schedule.
Well, you know, I've been thinking about this, and I came up with the $1 billion movie idea.
Uh-huh.
You ready to hear this?
Yep.
You have the outlaw Johnny Black.
Uh-huh.
We should do a spin-off starring me. We call it The Law-Abiding Johnny White.
The Law-Abiding Johnny White.
That's right.
People are listening.
Right.
Okay.
You got the outlaw Johnny Black, the law-abiding Johnny White. I'm your arch nemesis. What do you think?
I'm going to get back to you on that one. Yeah, I gotta digest that one for a minute.
Hey man, listen. You know, you miss every hit you don't take. So you know, I gotta throw it out there.
I thought you were gonna come out with
Johnny White.
I thought you were gonna come out with some white dynamite type of thing.
White dynamite. Oh, here we go. White dynamite. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, what's your take? So, for example, you know, I had Tariq Nasheed on my show recently.
Yeah.
We had a falling out some years back when he crashed one of my interviews, whatever. We talked it out. We realized what the misunderstanding was.
Uh-huh.
He came back, did a cool interview. And his thing, you know, his platform is FBA, Foundational Black Americans.
Okay.
You know about this?
No.
Really? Okay. This is definitely very big on social media. And especially when you talk about reparations, they, you know, people like Tariq Nasheed, which is one of the loud voices in this, movement, they create very much of a divide between American Black people and Black people of foreign descent.
Okay.
So they call them tethers even. That's one of the terms they use about like Jamaican Americans or, you know, Africans who live in this country and so forth.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of this. What's your take when it comes to this? And there's always been this kind of interesting, you know, divide between Black Americans and Africans who live here and so forth. You know, Black immigrants, essentially.
I heard about this. I think I heard about this like 20 seconds ago. So I don't know anything about it. I can't really comment on that. I haven't spoken to Tariq in a minute. I wish I had. I owe him a call. We haven't talked in a while. But he's somebody who's been, you know, welcome at the house, been at the house several times. I've been in his house. But it sounds like we are long overdue. But I don't like anything that's in a division type of thing to be, you know, first and foremost. I think there's been long enough division. I think we should all unite.
Yeah, D.L. Hughley, when I brought this up, he said that it's about as effective as peeing in a pool and trying to keep it separate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could say it's separate, but we're all affected by the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the other term is ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. That's another term that's been used. Listen, I'm an immigrant. So, you know, I've always been pro-immigrant. I feel like, I've talked about this with various people, like DL. It's like, if the cops pull you over, do they know the difference between, are you a foundational Black American or a Jamaican? Like, are you going to be treated differently one way or another? Are you going to be treated better if they realize it or not? Or is everyone pretty much in the same boat?
People spend a lot of energy on shit that, to me, is inconsequential. Maybe it's wrong of me to just kind of paint it with that brush, but it sounds ridiculous. On the surface, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like putting a lot of energy into things that I don't think are very progressive. I don't know, but
I don't see it as progressive either.
To actually put energy into designating something like, okay, what's your end game?
Well, I mean, listen, Tariq, that's his platform. And it's his platform, and I respect it. He's a very intelligent guy. He's done well for himself. But for example, his latest project, the entire focus of it is to prove that hip-hop was only started by foundational Black Americans. Puerto Ricans and Jamaicans, they were around, but they were not part of hip-hop when it started. They came around later and had only minor contributions. That's his thing. I don't particularly agree with this.
Okay.
But he did a whole movie about it.
Oh, okay. Well, my question would be, and again, I don't know, but my first question would be, okay, say you prove that. And?
Right.
What's your end game? What's the end? Okay, you proved that. There's a lot of times people will prove that there's institutional racism in the system.
Yeah.
Did we not know that already? So it's like, brother, 1 + 1 is 2. If you take 2 and you take 1 from that 2, then you got 1. I can say that in several ways, and he's speaking the truth.
Right.
Who gives a fuck? What does it matter? I don't know. So a lot of those things where I go, okay, this person is trying to prove this. I go, okay, and when you've proven that, what's the result? What's the result? Is there a utopia at the end of that? I don't know. Again, Tariq, forgive me because I don't know. I'm just taking it from what it sounds like. And if I'm given only the information that you're giving me, that's what I'm arriving at. There's a lot of that that drives me freaking crazy.
Yeah, no, listen, I push back on it.
Yeah.
I push back because, and for example, the founder of hip-hop, the father of hip-hop is Kool Herc, who is a Jamaican immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He is a Jamaican immigrant. The style of hip-hop, of playing records with people talking over the records was being done in Jamaica for a long time. In fact, DJ was a term for the person talking on the mic. Selector was what we call the DJ.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a hard jump to say, hey, listen, this Jamaican kid grew up seeing this in his neighborhood. He came over and he changed the style of music, but obviously the influences of what he saw in reggae culture played a role in the growth of hip hop. Not according to Tariq. No, had no role whatsoever. He didn't know anything about that. And you know, Kool Herc wasn't part of the documentary. But there's all these people say, oh no, Kool Herc had nothing to do with that style in terms of his Jamaican roots or whatever else. And oh yeah, the Puerto Ricans that were in these groups, they came later and they weren't really that important. And it's like, I think Puerto Ricans definitely influenced early hip hop. Were they the majority? No. The Dominicans, were they majority? No. Were there white people around contributing? Absolutely. Were they the majority? No, but we all contributed in different ways. I'm sure there's Asian people who contributed as well. But the whole thing was like, it was only non-immigrant Black Americans who did it 100%, and that's it. End of story. And that's Tariq's thing, and he's done well with a hard line, and I respect him, and we have great conversations, but I don't really agree with it.
This is me trying to give a fuck. Still not giving a fuck.
Not giving a fuck.
No, really not. No,
fucks given.
I'm trying.
I get it.
I'm so trying to give a fuck.
No, right. You know?
I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. I ain't got one.
Yeah, no,
I ain't got one.
There's no fucks around, right?
Yeah, but it's like
you go to the store and the fuck aisles are all empty.
Nope. Yep. Yeah. No fucks.
There's no
buy
fucks
in the store.
If you wanted one,
on
right.
any of these shelves. I don't think that my life doesn't change. But I mean, I don't want to shit on whatever people will do.
No, we're not shitting on Tariq.
That's what you want to.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm from New York. People they want to debate, man. Everybody want to talk about no, real. This is the real shit, man. You know what I'm saying, man? But it's an art form.
Yeah,
debating and all that kind of stuff. But then it's like, I'm sorry, but certain time where I'm like, I'm too damn old for that.
Yeah, and hip hop borrowed from rock, borrowed from funk, borrowed from disco. The original hip hop records were straight up samples of funk records. Rapper's Delight was a complete remake of Good Times. You know what I'm saying? So it's really just a hodgepodge of things that people incorporated and created this great new art form. But it's consisting of other art forms that all types of people of different races were, part of in a certain type of way. It is what it is.
Yep.
It is what it is. Well, Ryan Garcia. Now, I think our last interview, we talked about how, when he fought Devin Haney and he beat him.
Yeah.
But then the drug test thing came out.
Yeah.
And ultimately the win went away. Well, it was already somewhat of an exhibition fight because he was heavier. But the win was stricken off his record.
Right.
Right? And the loss was taken off of Devin Haney's record. Now, a while after that, Ryan goes on this whole racist rant. Did you hear about this?
I think the bits and pieces.
He said, I hate N-words. I'm anti-black. Bring George Floyd back to life and kill that N-word again. Shortly afterwards, he was expelled by the WBC. Now, but that's only one belt, right? The WBC is one belt. And there's two other major belts.
Yeah.
So that means he can still box in other divisions, with other belts, right?
Probably, yeah. I would think.
I mean, what's your take when you heard that?
I don't believe him.
Believe what?
I don't believe he believes that. I don't believe he meant that. I think he should get his ass whooped for it. That's okay. I wouldn't mind him getting his ass whooped for it. But I think it's like, hey, he's a provocateur. You know what I mean? He did it successfully. He fooled the shit out of me before that fight. Acting like he was crazy.
Yeah.
And whatever. But I'm like, okay, kudos. I believe that I don't believe somebody can say that and he knows that, the inflammatory nature of it. I just don't believe him. Even if I ran into him, I'm like, I wouldn't believe that he meant that. That personally, I just think he's doing that for an effect.
Well, I remember I interviewed Tariq Nasheed once again right after that happened. And we talked about it. And what he said was actually kind of interesting. He said that, although he's Latino, a lot of people view Ryan Garcia as like the great white hope.
Okay.
Right? And he has this like big fan base that's like anti-black that wants to see him whoop on the black guy. And he feels that he fed into that and uses these kind of racist statements.
That's what I would
to
think.
Kind of, feed that fan base, that racist fan base that he has.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I would think that he's doing that for an effect.
Yeah.
I don't believe he believes that. I don't believe what's his name either? Oh shoot. Who's the guy, the MAGA hat wearing a UFC fighter? Everybody hates him.
Yeah, hold on. I know what you're talking about. Didn't Jorge Masvidal? Colby Covington.
Yeah, Colby Covington. I don't believe him either. I believe people do that on purpose for an effect. I mean, if they got their ass stomped out, I wouldn't feel sorry for them because they're taking that chance. But I don't believe they're racist. That's just personally. I think because there's enough that I see of them being within the culture and having friends and what I think that they're doing that for a certain effect.
Yeah, I remember I interviewed Devin Haney's dad, Bill Haney.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him still keep in contact. I remember when all this started happening, and Bill has known Ryan Garcia for years and years because his son and Ryan would fight together in tournaments constantly and always end up, in the finals and so forth. And he says, this is the whole thing of him saying, I have mental issues and I'm bipolar and I need help. He said that's all BS. He said this is all trolling, and sometimes trolling doesn't work out the way you intended.
Right.
And but he is completely in his right mind and he's doing this on purpose.
Yeah. Hey, well, we agree. I think a lot of people, that's been put on the menu as something that you can choose. And hey, Colby Covington, to be honest with you, wouldn't even have a career anymore if he didn't do that. I'm thoroughly convinced of it. Thoroughly convinced.
Yeah, well, I interviewed Jorge Masvidal not too long ago, and him and Colby Covington had an interesting history.
Right.
Well, he lost his last match, I think, to Colby, but then he caught him outside of a restaurant and I think knocked his teeth out or something like that. Allegedly.
Yeah, sometimes if you get somebody, mentally in a frenzy, it's to their detriment. So I feel like I wish Jorge didn't let the emotion consume.
Well, when I interviewed Jorge, he was gearing up for the Nate Diaz fight. And you were actually there?
Yeah, I was at it, and I took pictures with Jorge afterwards. I thought Jorge won that fight.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that he got robbed.
Yeah, I felt so. I felt that he would have had to. I mean, sometimes people are myopic. He's Diaz is the hometown boy, and I'm a huge Diaz fan. So I got no horse in this race, but I feel like Jorge outpointed him, had the most significant blows. And but it was a Diaz crowd, So I thought he won.
Well, both Jorge and Ken Shamrock, who I recently interviewed, have bare knuckle leagues now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're only legal in like 3 states. It's like Florida, like Mississippi, and Alabama, and I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember Ken went through this whole thing with me where he felt that bare knuckle boxing is actually less traumatic to the boxers than wearing gloves.
I think so too. I've spoken about that.
Yeah,
I've spoken about that as well. And not to get boring or too technical on it, is that if I have a hard surface hitting another hard surface, say I'm punching a coconut. A lot of this, the hard and hard, it's not going to shake up the head as much as a glove that cushions the blow, but then pushes the inside of the brain and rattles the inside of the brain more. So when the impact is dissipated on 2 hard surfaces, it's not as much of that. And usually with the bare knuckle, it's about cuts, because you got, I actually train a very successful bare knuckle fighter. I've kind of been working with him for a few years now, and so we drill the fact that you have to use your knuckles like it's a knife. So because at a certain point where if you're hitting an object and it's right there and you continue to push, your wrist, everything takes the brunt of it, right? If you continue to penetrate. But if you hit the surface just into 2 inches, you're cutting everything. You want to cut the skin and boom, like put that at the very end where you're only punching 2 inches into the target. That lacerates the target, right? And so thinking about that like a joust, or if you had a knife, you don't want to get this close and then, stab through. You want to keep somebody at the very end. So that way, you're putting damage on that person and not your hands. Because I could punch that wall with 2 inches. If I get closer to it, I'm going to hurt my hand. You know what I mean? But I can hit the wall with my knuckles at a certain distance. And so this fighter I've been working with, he's undefeated. He's undefeated, and he's tearing people up that way.
Bare knuckle.
Oh, yeah. He's tearing people up that way. And a lot of people are still thinking about, because when you fight with gloves, you're forcing. Now you're trying to make that head move, right? You don't have to do that. If you're in here slugging away bare fist, you're gonna do more harm to your tools.
Yeah, I think Ken said something to the effect of like, with gloves, you'll get a lot more punches in and that'll rattle the brain and ultimately cause more brain damage as time goes on. He made a whole analogy about like putting an egg inside of a container and, and so forth.
Yeah. That's why boxers, they suffer a lot more. They get hit a lot more, and their brains rattle a great deal more. Yeah.
Well, like originally the UFC was only legal in a few states because it was considered too violent. Now, I mean, look, the UFC and WWE have merged now. You know what I'm saying? So I believe UFC is legal in most of the country.
Well, one thing that I can't understand that's raising like crazy is this slap thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm sorry. I mean, you know how I'm saying my heart goes out to the fighters and whatever, there's a skill involved. But this slap thing, you were just presenting your head and your brain to get just absolutely mangled for the enjoyment of the crowd.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think there's any escaping the brain damage.
Oh, yeah.
This is what they should call it, the brain damage competition. I don't get that.
And the winner of the brain damage competition.
Yeah. And, it's like,
Johnny Brainless.
Hey, thanks for the money.
He's like eating the trophy. Like.
Right, yeah. I'm like.
Yeah, I actually looked it up. MMA is actually only illegal in New York. It's legal in 49 states. And New York is the only state where it's legal in. But saying that, and remember at one point UFC was only legal in a couple states. Do you think that bare knuckle will eventually be legal in all the states or most of the states?
I don't think that's going to fly everywhere.
I don't think so either. I think it's just too bloody.
It's very bloody, and it's really being engineered by ex-fighters, ex-UFC fighters that have some name. That's going to die out soon. So I don't think it's got to, I mean, because even as popular as the UFC is, it almost met its demise several times.
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me, unless the UFC sanctions the bare knuckle stuff, I don't see it lasting that long.
I don't think they're gonna sanction that, because at this point the UFC is an umbrella of WWE and the UFC, and I think they're doing very well with that. And I don't think they want to bring in something ultra violent that's gonna kind of poison the rest of the business.
Yeah, and there hasn't been a death yet in that, but
yeah. Well, one of my members, Yimmy J5, he asked, what's the worst injury you've ever given someone in a fight?
Oh boy. Oh shoot, I don't quite know, but I remember years ago when I was fighting and I was still in the East Coast, I was on the Metro North train from Connecticut into Grand Central Station, and it was crowded, and it was it was like standing room only, but I had a seat. And some business guy, kind of big dude, was in a suit. He starts talking to me. He's about, I don't know, like 15 feet away, several people between us. And he's holding on to the thing, and he starts asking me about, hey man, you still competing and what have you? And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I talked about, different tournaments that had come up and whatever. And so clearly he was a martial artist. And we went back and forth, and everybody in the train is like, listening to me, listening to him, listening to me, listening to him. And so he was, telling me about former, competitions. I was like, oh, you went to the Diamond Nationals? Oh, you was at the Grand Nationals in Boston? And I was like, oh, shoot, this guy is competing. Like, clearly he's a competitor. I said, so, you've been competing lately? And he gets quiet. And I'm like, I repeat myself. He's like, I said, when was the last, match you did? He says, I haven't fought since we fought. He says, basically, you retired me. And, people are going like this and like this. and here I am, and they go. And I said, retired you? He says, yeah. You broke my collarbone, 3 of my ribs, and fractured my hip bone. Oh. All right. And he said, it took him like years to get better. And he says that I didn't want to fight after that. After he was talking about all the stuff that he had from fighting me, everybody looked at me like, and I'm like, I didn't remember this dude, right? I guess he was a heavyweight that there was a time where, guess I'm fighting my own demons, like I didn't care who was, across from me. I was just going, because, I did a lot of different competitions. Some of them, back then, bare knuckle was normal for, karate and I did all kinds of different, some things were WKA, I just fought wherever there was a fight. And I was on my own since I was 14. So there's times when I'm 17, 18 or whatever, I'm fighting in anything that gave money. I would give my trophy away to like a cute girl. You know what I mean? I didn't care about no trophies. And so it was just, about me making money. And I knew the best thing I knew how to do was fight. And I loved it at its time. But I guess I made him stop. That might have been the worst, but I don't remember. I think I told you about the time that a professional kickboxer sued my ass I fought him in a ring. And he successfully tried to sue me. Back when $8,000 meant a lot to me, I had to pay for legal fees and whatever because he wanted to fight, he wanted to spar. He challenged me, and we went to Benny Urquidez's gym, right, and fought. And he was number 2. Heavyweight or light heavyweight kickboxer. And he went to sue me. I had to get legal representation and on the grounds of, because if the law or judges or whatever believe that, he said some shit like I knew some kind of like secret art or some shit like that, which is bullshit. But if a lawyer and judges and people believe that, guess what? They believe it. Just like we talked about the Kruger-Dunning thing, they think they know enough about martial arts that there's a secret. There's some kind of secret. No, you got your ass whooped. You got your ass whooped, and you weren't able to make money on your next fight because you was fucked up. And you want me to pay for it. Acting like I had some secret when you invited me, when you challenged me. And I was like, man, that made me real reluctant to trust anybody behind that shit, because anybody could sue anybody. So, I don't know who I hurt worse, but I don't brag about that stuff. What I brag about is the time I get my ass kicked because it makes me learn something. I'll always brag about that shit. This is me getting my ass kicked. And look, I'm going to benefit from this some kind of way. You know what I mean? I'm going to make this stronger, and this is going to benefit me in my life some kind of way. But that's the way I look at it.
You had met Tupac back in the day. You've commented about him a couple times. Some interesting stuff has come out about Tupac recently. John Singleton was originally supposed to direct the Tupac movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the script that he put together included a rape scene in prison.
Mm.
The producers were upset, so he got kicked off the project, and Benny Boone was brought in, and he ultimately directed the film. But there was a prison phone call that I have heard. It's not public, but I actually heard this, where this guy was talking to Suge Knight in prison over a jail call. And he was talking about the whole John Singleton thing and the rape scene. And Suge basically said, well, yeah, that kind of happened. So, you need to put the truth out there. So that came out. And then recently, this isn't out yet, but I interviewed Detective Bill Courtney. He's an ex-NYPD detective who worked on a bunch of different cases. He actually worked on the Keefe D case. He worked around various Tupac cases, like, the Haitian Jack cases and so forth. And he said that one of the guys that was cooperating with him said that Jimmy Henchman paid someone to sexually assault Tupac in prison. And he thinks that's why when Tupac got out, he was so angry and just so crazy because of what had happened in prison. Do you believe it or not believe it? You don't think that happened?
There's people who believe that?
Do you believe it?
No.
Why?
Because how would it be? Oh, it would come out now on Vlad. Like, no. I mean, I don't think you could keep something like that secret.
A prison rape? People don't really brag about that.
Yeah, they do. You think nobody's going to brag about that?
I raped Tupac. Let me go do some interviews.
Not an interview. I mean, people going. I seriously doubt that would be kept quiet.
This rumor has been floating around. I remember even Chino XL, who recently passed away, he had a line about Tupac being raped in prison and Tupac did.
It would be passed on by people who want to believe it. I don't believe that for a second. Just, as far as what I believe, no, I don't believe. I don't believe something like that could be kept quiet.
I don't know. I obviously wasn't there, but I can imagine the trauma that a man would go through going through something like that. And I can imagine how angry you would be living through that.
Yeah, I don't believe that. People want to say things like that,
Well, I interviewed Bill Haney, Devin Haney's dad, and he actually knew Tupac early on. This is around the Brenda's Got a Baby era. And the way he described Tupac was basically similar to the way you described him. Said that he was, a poet, he was an artist, he wasn't this like super gangster type guy, and he was fun loving and so forth. But, he's like, people don't want to look at him like that. He didn't present himself like that, so,
They don't. I mean, believe me, there's the funny thing is I know people want to hate on me for that, but like there's no benefit for me to say anything. I'm trying to educate people to where he's not what a lot of us are not what we present ourselves to be.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is in glowing regard to the man. It's nothing was negative about that. The fact that he was able to. That's why I said I think he would win an Academy Award because people. I know what I know, and I know he could. I know other facets to the guy. I think that makes somebody very interesting, and that's why I ask people. Well, look in the past, and I think that's a very interesting thing and a good testament to who he is. So yeah, I know a lot of other people who know a different, that side of him, the artistic side, and to a lot of people who worked with him, who knew better. But I mean, it's but people. It's like here's one of the things I think we said this about him as well. It's like I feel like Tupac was the Elvis of hip hop because people when people compare like Biggie and Tupac whatever Just like people compare LeBron James and Jordan. I always say, okay, an interesting thing is if you switch brains, okay, or switch certain aspects about the person. Okay, you put Biggie's lyrics in Tupac's image and just see what you have there. I'm not gonna say anything else. Just see what you, like if Tupac is saying Biggie's lyrics, looking the way he does, you switch, you put Tupac's lyrics in Biggie's body. Now imagine Biggie rapping like Tupac. I'm not gonna say anything, just imagine it. You see what you arrive. Just like, okay, so when you do this experiment with Jordan and LeBron, you take Michael Jordan's brain and put it in LeBron James's body. What do you have?
A more competitive LeBron James.
A monster that, you think about that killer instinct and that ability in that body. Now you take LeBron James's brain and put it in Michael Jordan's body. What do you have?
A less successful Michael Jordan?
Well, I didn't say that. You said. Yeah, so I'm just saying.
Well, I think most people would agree that Jordan was a little more clutch than LeBron.
But it's kind of like when you take you take Michael Jordan's brain and put it in LeBron's body, you go, oh shit. You kind of go, oh shit. There's another element there. So it brings light to something else. Okay, so that's why when I say, when you think about, I think of Tupac as, my goodness, is there a more beautiful looking rapper even to today? A representative of who, and what a star is men want to be like them and women want to sleep with them.
Has there ever been a more charismatic rapper?
Yes. Has there been anybody who's been that dominant? I mean, as far as,
I see what you're saying.
Looks.
Yeah, I mean, you could say maybe LL Cool J, but he came before Tupac, obviously.
Doesn't matter. But I don't.
That's, I think,
if
was
you
a
ask
similar...
women this image or this image, I don't know. I mean,
most women would rap. If a woman were given a choice to sleep with Tupac or LL Cool J, I mean, Tupac had that edge, that,
Yeah, there's a bad boy thing to it, and if you're going to be into hip hop, there's a rebellious thing there. There's a whole thing with Tupac. I believe that there's a lot of reasons why he's a lot of people's favorite rapper, and you don't want to desecrate any memory of him. But me telling people he was more of a human being. He was more. He had more facets of his character than what you just think, and there's plenty of reason to see that. It shook people's. I mean, people like don't mess with my image. Like the same thing with Bruce Lee. You tell people. I mean, and Bruce Lee to this day, is there a more charismatic or picturesque martial artist ever? Who would you want to be? I mean, there's nobody. He's on everybody's poster for a reason.
Yeah, listen, if you ask everyone, would they rather be Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan? I think most people want to be Bruce Lee.
Of course.
Now, Jackie Chan had a longer career, has made more money, whatever, but he's not Bruce Lee.
But if if you do the switch, if you put Bruce Lee's brain in Jackie Chan's body, the things that Jackie Chan can do, I still have never seen another human do that. All the stuff that he's able to do is insane.
And he does all his own stunts too,
There's no comparison to what that man physically can do, right? But Bruce Lee's persona, look, everything else makes him the primo. But when you kind of go, okay, what if I did this? If Bruce Lee was doing Jackie Chan stuff and was doing the goofy stuff, you may not want to live vicariously through the goofiness or doing all of this stuff to kick some ass, where Jackie Chan's luckily kicking some ass, because that's what he chose. But if he did the same ass kicking and was doing it viciously, like with that attitude that Bruce Lee does, it would, it would be very, you see certain facets to what Jackie Chan's able to do. And you would look at it a little differently, because if you put Jackie Chan's head on Bruce Lee's body, it's just, I just, it's interesting. It's a similarity where when it comes down to it, you want to live vicariously through somebody, and it's going to be Bruce Lee.
Well, I actually looked up actors who are also martial artists.
Mm-hmm.
You're always on this list, by the way. But there's a lot of other ones on there that are kind of interesting. Of course, there's Bruce Lee. Of course, there's Jackie Chan. But then there's also Jet Li. There is Scott Adkins. And then you have Wesley Snipes, Jason Statham, Bolo Young, Van Damme, Chuck Norris, Billy Blanks, Lorenzo Lamas. All these guys that I mentioned, do you know all of them personally?
I think everybody. Yeah. Everybody owns their area. Jet Li knows more martial arts than anybody who's ever done a movie, period.
Really?
There's nobody with the knowledge of martial art techniques like Jet Li, bar none.
Really?
Jet Li was a member of the Beijing Wushu team. It's basically like, imagine the gymnastics, and he's the best in floor exercise and uneven parallel bars and all of these things. And imagine he's a gold medal winner in several of those things. That's the equivalent. He knows so many styles and mastered them since he was a child. So the people that you see in the Hong Kong Kung Fu movies, those are usually members of the Beijing Wushu team. They're the primo. They're the dream team of the martial arts stuff. When they in their 20s, when they're now a little older, they transition into doing movies. Period. So now he technically knows more arts than anybody. Jackie Chan has done just the most amazing stuff on screen. Bruce Lee was the best martial artist of everybody, martial art wise, philosophy and everything, and putting it all on his shoulders. Tony Jaa physically has done things that nobody else is able to do.
There's also Donnie Yen.
Donnie Yen is, I think he has been the best as far as putting a whole movie together. And he's always stepped up. He's not only like one of those people that's right behind Jet Li as far as learning martial arts styles. His mother was a high-ranking wushu stylist. He grew up, he's like probably second as far as knowledgeable is concerned. And then Donnie Yen has stepped up in choreography like nobody I've ever seen. He brought choreography to realistic fighting. So he has that designation. The best fighter who is a real fighter and has been in the movies is Benny Urquidez.
Okay.
By far, Benny Urquidez has proven himself as one of the people who did the best fight scene ever and was a not undefeated champion. He's one of my instructors, okay? But now, the most exciting fighter ever in the ring happens to be an actor that you saw in Heat, and his name is Jerry Trimble. If you look at Jerry Trimble, he has the most exciting fights I've ever seen anybody do. He was an actor on the side of Al Pacino's. He was one of the good cops on Al Pacino's side. He had one of those smaller roles, but Jerry Trimble probably had about 8 to 9 lines in that movie.
Yeah,
but
I actually looked it
historically,
up. Jerry Trimble is one of the fastest kickers in the world.
One of the
With
best
a
kickers.
hook kick clocking at 118
Oh my
miles per
God.
hour.
Jerry Trimble has knockouts that look like movies. There's a guy named Peter Cunningham that would be honorable mention, and another guy named unsung man named Billy Jackson, who never done in movies, but man, he was one of the most exciting fighters. But Jerry Trimble, bar none, baddest in the ring fighter I've ever seen and ever recorded. And now then you got real fighters like Randy Couture. You can't deny the man. And he's an actor, and he's doing better and better in the acting. Chuck Norris, one of the best martial artists there are. You know, as a man who is a martial artist, I praise him for the martial arts ethic and everything else. He lives it, okay? Of course, you know, one of the most famous actors. But these are people when you say, oh, and then there's Don Wilson, who was an undefeated kickboxer, friend, trained with him several times, and he's done a lot of movies. That's somebody who needs to be celebrated as real and has his movie following as well.
There's actually a few, because there's an IMDb list of top martial arts actors.
Mm-hmm.
The ones you haven't named, I believe, is Michael Worth.
I know, Mike Worth.
Jeff Wincott,
yeah. These guys are martial artists.
Yeah. Those are in the top 10.
But
those,
I'm talking about people who've achieved status in like championships. You know, there are people who are martial artists who have, you know, as you notice, I will keep going and I'd get to Van Damme. Yeah. And people like that.
And actually, Dolph Lundgren is on this list as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a martial artist.
He's a Kyokushin.
We do the same stuff.
And Goju Ryan karate. He was also captain of the Swedish karate team, 5-time Swedish, British, Australian Open champion, Taekwondo, and Judo. He also used to be the personal bodyguard of Grace Jones.
Boyfriend.
Well, his bodyguard / boyfriend.
Okay, yeah.
They lived together for 4 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, Steven Seagal is actually on this list.
Okay.
But you said that what he does is more like, it's not really martial arts, it's more like
it's
dancing, sort of.
What I can say about Steven Seagal, he's a great choreographer. He choreographed, I believe, the Challenge in another movie prior to him becoming a star, and he started at the top. But what he did, he created a persona that was badass that you can live vicariously through. A lot of the Ukis do a lot of the work in the Aikido type stuff. The Ukis are the guys being thrown. You know what I mean? But, you know, again, I have always said he doesn't have to be a real fighter, you know, because if he had fought, you would know, okay? But, you know, he presents himself the way he wants. That's his choice. But as far as when I say the real fighters, I definitely want to do homage to the people who I know and that you can Google and you watch them fight. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I listened to your interview on the Jackson podcast recently.
Okay.
With that Rampage Jackson and I forgot the other guy's name.
Bear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I remember when we did our first interview, we talked about Heath Ledger.
Mm.
And even then, and I don't think you ever corrected me, I assumed, like most of the rest of the world, is that when Heath Ledger died, it was like right after the filming or during the filming of Batman and his Joker role, and he got so dark in his role and it just consumed him. But what you pointed out was that he was already working on his next film, and the Joker was a while back.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people, again, the through line today is what people want to believe.
Yeah, the conspiracy.
They try to believe that conspiracy. You know, if you're going to believe a conspiracy, you're going to find one. And no matter what the truth is, people would rather paint the conspiracy that the dark images of doing the Joker brought him to his demise. It's just not true. Heath Ledger was having fun on set. He wasn't in character all the time. And it showed by his performance. He was having fun. There's times where I and other people wanted to leave him alone, and he's engaging. He's like, we were doing magic tricks. Because every time I would leave to do a movie, I would practice magic tricks, and I'd go to the local magic shop wherever I am, and my kids, I would do another tricks, and he was the same way. And so we were doing nothing but magic tricks in our spare time. He was never always in character. He was a fun-loving dude. Like when he's doing the thing where he's got the hand sanitizer, that's for him fucking around. You know what I mean? So people want to paint that because it buys into their narrative. It's not the truth. He was doing Imagineering of Dr. Parnassus when he passed away. And if anyone wants to learn anything about that, is that if you have sleep aids and you get used to sleep aids, right? And that becomes your thing. You're taking more than one Ambien, and that's your thing. You get to sleep that way. And then all of a sudden you have an injury like this, and you take one little medication for that injury, but now that's in addition to your Ambien. That's enough to take you out. So, fair warning to people. I am by far nowhere near, I don't take drugs. You can't get me to take an aspirin. But there was a time where I almost made that mistake. I had a sleep aid one time, and there was a painkiller, like a basic one, but I almost was in the red area of making that mistake. And I'm like, I'm a guy who I don't take nothing. And so it's very easy. I know a lot of people have OD'd by that because they're not thinking, because they have a routine of taking something. And I'm like, I know so many people are taking something, whether it's sleep or, things to, even things to cope, like coping, whatever, but they don't realize there's certain chemicals in both drugs that one drug might have some connection to the other, and now you've overdosed. So if there's anything to learn from that, I want people to know that's a possibility. And this dude was not like visited by the spirit of the Joker.
Well, you said you actually helped him develop the Joker voice.
No, I wouldn't say helped him develop, but
he ran it by you.
Yeah, he absolutely did. Which, like, he would ask me and other people on set, "What do you think of that take?" I'm like seriously. So since he's right up on me and he's playing with his voice, right? And he did one. He did some voice that was very much like Tom Waits, right? And I'm going, whoa. And when he did that register, I was like, well, that makes me look at you like, shit, where's this guy from? He says, you think so? I'm like, and that happened to be the take that they used, that very Tom Waits voice. So he was playing. He was, experimenting. And for him to ask me, I'm like, shoot, like, that's giving me a lot of, credit and respecting what I think. But that's the way to be. I think, he was really open. He was a really nice dude. No ego whatsoever.
Well, The Dark Knight, I think most people consider that to be the greatest Batman movie.
I think so.
Yeah. Did you interact with Christian Bale at all?
Briefly. We didn't. There was things that were cut out because I think they wanted to preserve Heath Ledger's performance. So there were other people in that movie that parts were kind of diminished as well.
If you were to list your favorite Jokers from best to worst.
I hate answering this.
Really?
I hate answering this but I got to be honest, man. Joaquin.
So there's Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, Jack Nicholson, Jared Leto,
Joaquin,
and Cesar Romero, who did the Batman series back in the 60s.
Just what Joaquin did in that Joker movie.
Okay, so Joaquin, number one.
Outstanding. It was just another level.
Who's number two?
Oh, Heath Ledger, yeah. Yeah, absolutely number 2.
So you would put Heath Ledger over Jack Nicholson?
Yes, I would. Absolutely.
I would too.
Yeah.
In fact, I would put Heath Ledger over Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay. I mean,
that's my opinion. Yeah.
I know. I think this is unfair because
I know. Joaquin has a whole movie.
Yeah, he has a whole
movie. And we'll now
movie.
have a second movie. I get it.
Yeah.
I get
it. And again, I know Heath's process was he's doing things to see what sticks. So I have a little bit of inside information on that. But Joaquin, oh my goodness, to be able to be that flawed of a lead, and my God, I'm rooting for this psychopath. I'm rooting for us. I know he just killed his mother in front of her child, and I'm rooting for him. I'm sorry, chills.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to do that and identify the psyche, and I'm sorry, there's not many performances like that. And he became a hero of every downtrodden person that watched that movie.
Oh yeah, that scene in the subway where he commits his first murder.
A hero.
I watched it over so many times. I'm like, damn, he killed that scene. Damn, he killed that scene.
How are you not judging him first? How are you not? How are you not?
Because I
he
feel
blew
like
Robert De Niro's head off.
Yeah.
On a TV show.
Do you know why? I'll answer the question. For you.
And we still rooted for him.
I feel, to me, the mark of a great actor is that you completely forget who he is.
Exactly.
And I feel when I'm watching Heath Ledger, I do not think of this as that pretty boy blonde guy who was in A Knight's Tale. That this guy so transformed himself into a totally different human being.
He did.
That when I watch Joaquin Phoenix, I still think he's Joaquin Phoenix. And I think about his other roles and they're, like, for example, him being the villain in Gladiator and stuff like that. I think there's some similarities.
I felt like he would deserve the Oscar for that too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I really did.
Absolutely. But I'm saying, like, I still see Joaquin Phoenix. When I watch Heath Ledger, I forget it's Heath Ledger. That's it. That's my take. I can see the argument for both cases.
Both can be true.
Yeah, both are great roles.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I no longer saw Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
True. But, yeah, that's true. But my goodness. In the history of film, I don't think I've seen very many things the level that Heath Ledger, that Joaquin did. I mean, that goes up with Charlize Theron and a few other people that I go, oh my God, they just, because Charlize in Monster, and there's a few performances that that take you there.
Well, you used to hang out with Rick James a lot.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of this story before until we talked about it for the interview. But you used to play pool with Rick James.
Yeah, I used to play pool. I used to play competitive pool. And when I was in China, I really upped my game. I was doing something called snooker. And if you get to the point where you're competing in snooker, it's kind of like you playing basketball with a hoop that's much smaller. You have to be that accurate. And snooker is like chess to checkers. And so I did competitions back here with 9-ball and 8-ball, whatever snooker makes that. And I had a snooker table at home. So I'm playing on this huge table that's got smaller pockets. And it's a kind of a chess game. So 8-ball was kind of easy in comparison. So I used to play at Rick's house. And we used to play at Eddie's house. And we used to play with Johnny Gill, who prided himself as a good pool player. And, you can ask him about that stuff. But yeah, I was good enough to play. I used to play a lot of people left-handed, and until they had to make me switch to my right. I competed for a while. Joe Rogan is another person that competes. He was in the league as well. But when you're in a league, most people who play for fun, they're not. You're kind of over them a bit. So when I play at Rick's house, like what Rick would do is when he get a lot of like NBA guys and people who want to, lawyers and whatever, they have friendly games, and he started getting them to bet, and then he would, go away and call me, and I'd pop up, and I just act like I'm just passing through, and we play teams or whatever, and then get a lot of money because you get people who would bet. So, we had certain people in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some people who lost a lot of money.
Can you say who?
Man, who?
It's not like you're really exposing anybody. It's just
There was some NBA cats and whatever, because it was mostly. Shoot, there's these football. I never watched a game of football, but there's but yeah, there were different cats and lawyers and different people like that where we'd I don't think we ever lost. I don't think, or he'd put me up against somebody, but it's different. It's kind of like the martial arts, like the Street Fighter versus a person really learning, who really knows technically. But if I would play to a competition level at first, they would smell the setup. So we had a little thing going on. There's folks out there that know me from Hollywood Athletic Club. And people would like to change the history, like, yeah, I beat you before, and like, yeah, okay. But that connects back to, that's how I first met Tupac, because we used to play at the Hollywood Athletic Club in the private room.
Yeah, in a previous interview, you said that Rick James is actually funnier than Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, I know I said that, yeah. It's like I've been around Eddie Murphy several times. He's a real introspective dude, man. He's like really a deep thinking person. Like even when people are goofing on somebody, he's like, oh man, come on, He's like the voice of reason. And I'm like, yeah, but you're Eddie Murphy. It's kind of funny. Big, avid boxing fanatic. Like he really studies. He and his brothers, they're real big boxing. I think his nephew is competing on a high level. And so that's one of the things that, I used to go over to the house for when you had big boxing matches and stuff. So that was kind of what we were kind of into. But yeah, it was, I was always found him to be, and a few times one thing that Aries has mentioned is that after comedy clubs, he would have the things over his house. I went to, I think 2 of those before, where, there was like, I hung with the comedians. A lot of my good friends were stand-up comedians. And so I was more a fly on the wall and hanging with them. But yeah, I experienced a couple of the after comedy set things at his house, Yeah,
I remember when I interviewed Darius McCrary.
Mm-hmm.
He was really close with Rick James.
Yeah.
And he told this story how Eddie Murphy was having this big party in his house. And they were getting ready to leave. And Rick James was blitzed. And he just insisted on driving the car. He was like basically like grabbed the keys from Darius and insisted on driving. And he accidentally put the car in reverse and he backed up and smashed into Eddie Murphy's fountain.
I saw that. And I laughed because if you knew Rick, you know he's like that. But the thing that Rick, that is, he couldn't be faded on, is if he's tearing you down, like playing the dozens or whatever, Rick was no joke with that. I don't give a damn how well dressed you are. That dude could pick apart something on you. And it's not, and I'm telling you, it's not because, he's Rick James making the joke. It's genuinely funny. It's genuinely, he's playing a character, like he's a character who, when he talks shit about you, it's fucking hilarious. And that's the thing that's like, so he would just be on, and you just go, oh man, I don't want to fuck with him. You know, he just had that talent of talking shit.
Well, recently, Todd McFarlane and Jason Blum actually posted a picture of the screenplay for the upcoming Spawn movie, officially titled King Spawn. You heard about this?
Nope.
Really? Yeah. I mean, there's the actual picture of, King Spawn by Matt Mixon, Malcolm Spellman, and Scott Silver, based on characters created by Todd McFarlane. Jason Blum, that's the whole Blumhouse production thing. Yeah. It's interesting that he would go that way, because Blum does more horror films and kind of more lower budget films in general. No? Is that not true?
I don't know. I mean, I know he created a big thing with the horror thing. I don't, I think he's branched out into a lot of other things. I think I was just watching a show that he does documentaries and other things. I mean,
he did Paranormal Activity, the Insidious franchise, Sinister, the Purge franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Get Out, Split, Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some interesting, he did Black Klansman, I guess. He was involved in that. I also did, he produced Black Klansman and Whiplash. So he's got some, he's got some things under his belt. I assume, based on your reaction, they've not reached out to you about this at all?
I don't think they will. I mean, why should they?
Man, you got to have at least a cameo in that movie.
No,
you gonna do a Spawn without the original Spawn?
They do a lot of things without the original. Like, why would, it's they did another Tyson movie. It's like, I mean, I really have nothing to do with that. Like, if they ask me, well, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea what that's about. From where I understand, Todd McFarlane wanted, to use Jamie Foxx. I don't know. I mean, I thought he was doing it with Jamie Foxx.
That hasn't been announced. I mean, well, it's still a screenplay. So this is
okay.
When you do screenplays, I mean, you probably have like to have actors throughout, but nothing's locked in at the screenplay stage.
Dude, they could be doing the Michael Jai White story, and they might cast somebody else. It's. I don't put a whole lot of energy in when I have nothing to do with it. That I don't own that franchise. I don't have. I was an actor, just like everybody else, and. It's just like if there's another role that somebody is asking me to do, I then do that. Like I have nothing to do with that because I haven't been asked to do anything in it. I mean, I am thankful for what I did and the people who support me in that. And, but yeah, I so don't concentrate on things that I have no control over. It's a waste of time. So, I mean, I wish them the best. Honestly. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they posted a picture of the screenplay, there's been talk of a Spawn sequel or whatever over the years. We even talked about how Spawn was supposed to be like Mist or something.
Well, yeah. There was a time that Todd McFarlane talked about his concept of the new Spawn, and he said it's about like you don't really see him, and he's a mist, and you just like you don't see him actually like desecrate anybody. Like, and I was like, oh, okay. It didn't sound terribly interesting. Like I thought, I was like, oh well, good luck with that. That was my attitude. It was like, yeah, and so okay, you're telling me that this concept, and then you're saying, okay, I like Jamie Foxx. You're right. Jamie Foxx is amazingly one of the most talented people I've ever seen. like God bless you. Have a great. I wish you all the success in the world. I don't know why it seems like, do people think I don't mean that? I honestly do. If something has nothing to do with me, why do I give a fuck about it? Honestly, I really don't.
Right. And I think people don't always realize that Hollywood is one of the most unstable businesses in terms of projects ever actually coming out. They're constantly buying people's life rights just to lock them into a deal and never use it.
You know how many movies that I'm almost on set and the movie gets canceled? I could, like, when you talk to me, like, I could be talking to you like, yeah, I'm in Wisconsin on set, we don't know if it's gonna happen. I mean, once they're paying and I've gone and I'm on set, that's when I count it. Especially when I finish. But I don't believe nothing. Even if they're like, oh, you're gonna be the new, I don't say nothing. I don't really report. There's a lot of movies I don't even report till I'm done.
Have you ever filmed a movie completely and that movie not come out?
Yeah, I believe so. But here's the thing, and I'm not bullshitting. I literally don't give a fuck. I really don't. In a lot of cases, I could be a support. I think there's a movie that I did that I go, okay, well, my part's cool. If it comes out, okay, that'd be cool. But my thing is, I only want to do good movies. I pass up on the majority of movies. I think I get probably an offer a week or close to that. And the majority of them I don't do because I don't think it fits my brand. I want people to trust if I'm in a movie, I believe in it. Sometimes it goes left and I can't control that because unless I'm producing it or whatever. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I got things that is coming out that I'm excited about. I get excited about the stuff coming out, things I completed. I got 3 that I completed that I'm like, I'm excited about that. Could I give a damn about a movie that hasn't been shot yet? No. There's a chance that it could be garbage. Who knows? So why should I be excited? Sometimes people like I'm on set. People might be like, Mike, aren't you excited? Fuck no, I haven't done anything yet. I get excited when I completed a movie and I know I put my foot in it. That's when I get excited. So how am I going to get excited about a movie that hasn't been done? That could be garbage.
Was there a movie that you did that you thought was going to be the biggest thing ever, and when you actually saw it completed, you were like, ah, man.
Not the biggest thing ever. There's things that I thought that was going to be good.
Right, because it's out of your control after you're done.
And you know what movie that is?
I don't.
Yes, you do.
Which one?
The first Spawn.
The first Spawn, okay.
It wasn't to what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, but it's still kind of a cult classic, I feel.
Right, yeah, but but it was, I thought it was better the first iteration of the first cut of it because it was more of the story intact.
I'll take that over Toxic Avenger any day of the week.
Well, that wasn't my movie. Because I wanted Spawn to be more like the comic book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
well, the cartoon was kind of like that.
Yes, it was. But I feel like the movie should be like that.
Yeah, but this is sort of early in comic book movies.
Well,
the budgets weren't really there. The technology, there was no CGI.
But this is beyond CGI. This is storytelling. You can be like the movie and be badass and dark, right? But no, the MPAA, which was run by mostly clergy, was like, oh, you're already dealing with heaven and hell. Oh, they were on us.
Huh.
Right? So, but still, I'm like, go and see 17. Like, my feeling is like, no, man, let's snatch spinal cords out.
Wait, so they were mad about Spawn, but The Exorcist was out in theaters with the R rating. Like
it's different because the hero is from hell. That's different. Exorcist, you think about The Exorcist is the priest.
The devil, right?
No, The Exorcist is
but
the
the
priest.
girl is the devil.
Right. It's The Exorcist.
Okay, I see what you're saying. They're getting rid of the devil. Okay,
exactly,
yeah,
right?
Well, I think these days no one would give a shit.
You know, it's not Reagan, which was the name of the girl, right? Who was the hero. And Spawn is and you know, it's hard to unpack that, you know. So here's a script. And they're like, okay, the hero's from hell. What? And it's a black man from what? So, you know, we had things against us.
Yeah.
But still, you know, if they do a Spawn 2, I think it should be dark as hell. The dark movies.
I'm looking forward to it.
Everybody loves the dark movies. When Spider-Man got dark.
I used to read the comic book. I loved the cartoon. And I thought the movie was cool, too.
Dark Knight got dark.
Yeah.
And shoot.
Yeah, because remember, like, I mean, the original Batman,
one thing,
you know.
If I played the Spawn the way I would like to play that shit, man, I'd be on some like, be damn near a horror movie if I did it the way I'd want to do it.
Well, if Blumhouse is involved in it, it's gonna be a horror movie.
Yeah, because there's a psyche of this character could be really dark and justified, right? And like really, plain and simple, like the comic book, or like the HBO series. And hell, if they don't realize I could pull that shit off, hell with them. You know, like okay, you know, go ahead, you know, because there's, you know, there's some dark shit that I could pull in that I wouldn't mind exercising. Some stuff that like there's roles that I didn't do early on because I didn't want to scare folks as to how dark I could actually go.
I mean, come to think of it, you've never done any really like evil roles, have you? Am I missing some?
No, I really haven't. As on purpose.
Huh.
On purpose, because when there was a role that I almost did, and 20th Century Fox was going to do it, and it was like it was on that kind of like Shatas kind of thing.
Okay, I love that movie.
It was like, but my character was a drug dealer who was the lead, but it was something crazy. And Paula J. Parker, and it was going to be my love interest. And we did like a screen test together. And in this screen test, basically, I hold her at gunpoint. You think I'm robbing her, but it's just shit that we do.
Okay. Like
right?
A role play kind of thing?
Role play type of shit. But it's like it was raw. It was some like real, I'm like, y'all gonna really do this? And our audition it kind of went on the street. Somebody got a hold of the audition tape and leaked it. And people told me about that. And it was back in the day. And I had early facial like before nobody had them. And I was playing because, hey, people don't know, I've been on my own since I've been in, you know, I know the Predator. I grew up with that shit. Even when I was delving in Hollywood, that still was a part of my life. And I had people who were this close to me that were still, you know, so in the things I experienced early on, I have yet to play that. But I was almost going to play it in that. People would not realize because I haven't shown that part, right? But I almost did that. And there's a role that's coming up where I will get to do that. But I think I have enough work behind me that that I think I pull myself out of that in people's eyes because they've seen me. If I had done something like that early on, it'd be hard for people not to see that. Because like one of my biggest frustrations is people are scared of me now. And I think I'm a very nice person.
Yeah.
But I meet people and they're like, oh shit, and I think I'm a bunny. I'm very nice. I'm very well adjusted. I don't have the same demons. But like people see me in this damn thing, it's like, oh, now I can take you. I'm like, shit, why is that on your mind? Playfully, but it's like still there's a little bit of like, even my father-in-law is like, yeah, we gonna go to the backyard now. I can take you now. But there's, it's playful, but still a lot of people go, when they see me on this, they just think like, okay, now I can whip your ass. I'm like, well, I have a tendency to be, I've been armed since I was 21. I've been a licensed carrier of pistols. Carrying pistols is like me wearing socks. And yes, I have socks on. And especially coming to a place like this where, people are, I don't know if you got some kind of rapper that people want to put on the RIP list coming in and out of this place. I'll say no more. But anyway, but like, it's a weird thing. So I didn't want to play roles like that when there's a fear that people will have even when I'm meeting heads of studios and I'm like, great to meet you and whatever. And the first thing they tell me is their tough guy story. And I'm like, why do I got to hear this? I wrestled when I was in college. I was not tough like you, but I was like, oh shit, what? Why can't you be meeting? I'm a writer, director, and like I don't just like not like a walking bloodbath, but a lot of people see that shit. Like I think I told you about like a very high, powerful director that I met at a Broadway opening, and I'm in a suit and everything else, and I'm like, oh, pleasure to meet you. And he's like, man, I would hate to be hit by you. Have you ever, had to use your martial arts? And I'm trying to steer the conversation in a different direction, and all he can see is a four-armed monster that can kill him. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't get nothing else out of this person sees me this way, no matter how, like genteel I seem. So, that's just something that's very real that, I guess I don't help myself on this show sometimes when I go, I can kill somebody and I don't need a gun. Like things like whatever. But,
Okay, last question. Since our last interview, Gary Owen came in, who you've done movies with him.
Yes.
And he said something very interesting. He said that at one point, some years back, he met up with a very well-known Hollywood executive, someone we all know, someone you've worked with before.
Mm-hmm.
A male Hollywood executive.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, he started coming on to Gary. And he was like, so, Gary, how much do you make a year? And at the time, Gary was like, I don't know, like $50,000. I'll make you $1 million. In fact, this role that you're auditioning for, hold on. Yeah, say so-and-so that he's not going to get the role. We're going to go with Gary instead. Yes, you've got the role. And he started to basically come on to him. Gary's like, yo, this guy wants to have sex with me. And, so he politely said, listen, I'm not into that, but, thank you. And he said he also got the role. It's not like he was dangling the role, like a carrot for sex. And he said there's nothing wrong with hitting on people, gay or straight. But ultimately he didn't go for it and he still got the role. And this is someone who's still a major Hollywood player that everybody knows that you worked with before. Does this surprise you at all?
Does what surprise me? That you would ask me something like that?
No, something like this. There's something like this would happen. I remember I brought this up when I brought this up to D.L. Hughley. He said, I'm offended. How come everyone wants to fuck Gary, not me? He's like, DL felt he's much sexier than Gary. How come no one's trying to fuck him?
Yeah, well, it never happened to me either.
No?
No, it's never.
So a male executive's never come on you?
No, never.
Has a male ever hit on you?
A male ever hit on me? I'm trying to factor in the fact that I'm stupid and I don't even know when people are oh, well, yeah, that has happened, but not Hollywood-ish.
Just being out and about. Yeah.
In a health club, that even when I was younger, like things like I used to practice martial arts when I was a kid, like 15 in the park, and I remember one time some dude came up to me and said, "Yo, man." An older guy, big older guy, comes up to me and says, "Hey, this guy offered to give me $20 if I let him suck my dick. What should I do?" And I was like, "What?"
Why is he asking you for advice?
No, he's asking me what should he do because this guy offered him, and I'm like, "Well, whoop his ass." And he said, "Oh, okay." He went about his business. And do you know, a week later, another person, I'm downtown, and another dude asked me the same question. And I was like, "Where's this dude?" Because I was in the park like last week, and the person asked him the same thing. So I told somebody older than me, and they're like, "Dude, Mike, that dude was he's testing you to see what you..."
Oh, to see if you would go for it.
Yeah, because the second time it happened, I'm like, "Let's find this motherfucker." Right?
Who's this guy out for $20 for next second?
The same
He
dude.
must be stopped. The whole time it's this guy you're talking to.
Downtown, like, let's find this motherfucker because somebody at the park told me somebody over there was doing. So I guess that was the first time that ever happened. And then one time, oh my God, this is bad. I used to go work out at Bally's, and believe me, I don't care. I mean, to each his own. I don't think anything was wrong with someone being a homosexual.
Right.
Yeah. But this is gonna sound bad. But when I was young, I'd think, oh no, was a guy, I felt like this. That's threatening or whatever. But in Bally's in Hollywood, there were at one time there's a lot of gay guys that was working out there, and I'm naive. I'd be in the locker room, and and I work out for a long time, and I come back and I'm like, why are the same dudes in the locker room? Still with a towel walking around. I'm not. Yes, but there was this one time. I was working, I was tired, and I just kind of like gazed off. I was just tired, just like this. And probably was gazing off for about 5 minutes or whatever, just daydreaming. And I realized this motherfucker looking right back at me. And he's looking at me in a certain way. And I'm going, oh shit. Then it replayed like the look on my face I must have had, which was like that. So I'm going, oh shit, this dude must have the wrong impression. I'm like, let me, go about my business. And now, about 10 minutes later, I want to make sure I know where this dude is so I don't look there again. But dumbass me, I do one of these things and the dude is staring back at me and I'm going, shit. Now I made it worse. Now this dude, I'm checking for him, but not the reasons that he thinks. But now I feel like he has every right to step to me because he knows. I just showed that because when I saw him looking, I was like, oh shit. But so that I don't know, like I never came back to that gym. I just left. Because I thought, that shit's on me now. But outside of that, man, I think people can tell.
Yeah.
That, but no, man, like never in Hollywood, never anybody, no, never.
Yeah.
But women, yes.
Yeah. The other day, me and Willie D were on the phone, and he was saying how when he was growing up, there was a lot of drugs in his neighborhood. And he saw men sucking dick for drugs. And that's when he decided he didn't want to take drugs. He said, if this is the side effect of taking drugs, if I do this, I might end up sucking a dick at some point in my life. I'm not going to do this. And he's like, whatever, in his late 50s, and he's never done drugs. Yeah. And that's an interesting motivating factor. Like, hey, man, if you do this, you might end up sucking a dick later on.
Yeah. I never had that thing. Like, dude, I've had friends, good friends who was homosexual. I swear it always meant it meant as much as you being a Sagittarius. I never thought, and I never understood why people cared. Why do you care?
I think you care.
Like, I never cared.
I think you care if you're struggling with your own sexuality.
Yeah, maybe.
And this reminds you a piece of yourself that maybe you're trying to suppress. I have gay friends, Jason Lee of Hollywood Unlocked.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine too. I'm so proud of Jason. I remember him back when he was just a friend of Claudia Jordan's, and he was just like,
man, he's the homie,
and he's doing his thing, and he's always been proud of who he is.
And we talk about gay things in our interviews and stuff like that. I described, I told him there was an instance when I was in Israel where I was there with a bunch of people who just graduated college, and I was dancing with a bunch of girls. There was some Israeli guy that kept staring at me, and at one point he walked up to me and started chewing on the shirt near my shoulder. He was like, "Arr." And I was like, oh shit, let me just turn around and walk away. Okay, I'm really, this freaks me out, and I just want to get away from this.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't want to beat him up. I didn't want to hurt him. Okay, he's attracted to me. He might think I'm gay. I'm not. I'm just walking away.
Yeah.
But to have a violent, I'm going to beat this dude's ass and put him in the hospital. Why? He's hitting on me and I'm not interested. I keep it moving. You know what I mean? That's it. That was my entire thought process.
Man, in school, I used to be the bully for people like that. Like somebody, mistreat a gay person, I would whoop the ass of the people who mistreated them or talk shit. But that I carried that with me for a long, honestly, 2 weeks ago, I go to a play, and this brother that I'm so proud of, oh my God, what's wrong? Why am I blanking his name? We worked on a movie together. He's just recently come out. J. August Richards. I ran into J. August Richards. We did a movie called Mutiny a long time ago. But this is before Jay came out of the closet. There was a gay extra that the other actors were kind of berating and talking shit about. And I think we were in a bus or whatever going to set, and I found out about it and I went off on everybody. And Jay said, man, you probably don't remember, but when you did this, I was one of these people in the closet, and I never forgot that. Because when I went off on everybody laid off of him, and I made sure he was okay. And so Jay at this play, literally 2 weeks ago, he's like, man, that meant a lot to me. And I'm like, wow, you never know, what you do, how it can affect folks. But I knew I reached out when he came out, and I didn't know. And I'm like, man, I don't care how much you want to hate on how politically correct shit is nowadays. If you talk about how, that whole woke thing is or whatever, I want you to think about all the people who got their rights now.
Mm.
If you weigh that with it, the fact that people who are finally able to be who they are and not be like, just like freaking berated and ridiculed and, all of this.
Yeah, giving shock therapy to try to get the gayness out of them.
Oh my God.
Go to the church conversion therapy.
So that's
and all
why
that.
I'm
Hey,
not
if you're
quick.
gay, you're gay, man. Be
I'm
you.
not quick to complain about the pendulum swinging one direction.
Yeah.
Because a lot of women, a lot of gay LGBTQ have finally got what they deserve. So when you complain about that shit, about, being politically correct, think about that. Because it's worth people who've had their rights and all that stuff being inconvenienced because now they got to walk a straight and narrow thing and watch what they say or whatever. God damn it, these people have had hell. And so you're going to complain about your inconvenience. What about their inconvenience?
There we have it. Michael Jai White, man, always a pleasure. When we sit down, man, listen, you and I feel are authentically friends. We talk less on camera than we do off camera.
Right.
We've always kept in touch, man. I've always been happy for success. You've been there for me when I've gone through, things. And I truly appreciate it, man. Very proud of, everything you've accomplished since we met. And I feel like things have not slowed down for you. I feel like things are just getting bigger and bigger and better roles. And man, until next time, peace.
Thank you, bro.